why we're creating YouVoice as a competitor social media platform is because I think current platforms don't reward impact at all. Like, I think that it's very, very hard right now. And more than being hard, it's thankless. And it is often harmful to your career to do things, which is insane. We should be rewarding good people. Very, very hard to start nonprofits, very hard to start movements, very hard to start companies that are doing good. Requires a lot of privilege, which a lot of people don't have. Yeah, and I'm tired. I'm tired of outrage. I'm tired of ivory tower discussions. I'm tired of people doing nothing and just mouthing off on the latest issue. I'm tired of infighting. I am tired of, punishing people for one thing they do wrong instead of rewarding people who are doing a lot of things that are right. I'm tired of people not caring about the actual impact to real lives because they'd rather fly a flag of moral superiority online. This is not the way the real world works. And if all you do is continue to reward outrage instead of impact, then you are going to hurt real people in the real world. And I am not okay with that.
My guest is the young prodigy, Isvari Maranwe, a technology entrepreneur, political analyst, and tech influencer with over 350,000 followers and counting throughout social media. She was a former particle physics and supernova cosmology researcher at CERN until she decided to pursue a legal career specializing in cyber and national security. As an attorney, she represented the US Department of Defense, the Department of State, the Federal Communications Commission, and Fortune 500s. Her work on legislation to expand civic education and national service earned her the Outstanding Achievement Award from the Office of the Secretary of Defense. All of this while she's in her 20s.
Real problem that I think when it comes to legislation like this or anything is like you, I've been on both sides. I've been on the tech side and I've been on the government side trying to legislate it. And end of the day, you can't ban children without banning adults and without really, really destroying online free speech. And people are realizing that now in countries that have tried to start banning children is that they've realized, okay, what you're doing is driving a lot of free speech websites out of business. And even if you're not driving them out of business, people are too paranoid to now basically even allow adults to do what they want to do online because there's no way to guarantee someone isn't a kid. When you brainwash a country and when you have a 60-year campaign of not educating people and rewarding ignorance, you get a lot of neo-Nazis or people who will look the other way. So I don't think there's any guarantee the country will fight back. And if you actually do look at like the 1930s in Europe, took a lot of other countries stepping in to get rid of Nazis and to win the war. Germans did not effectively fight back. There were a lot of quote unquote normal people who were just smiling average teens, right? This also something that went viral recently, right? And they're like, everyone wants to believe that they're not a Nazi. In reality, like these were normal people, quote unquote, who then became literal Nazis. Now you're seeing that in America. Like you're just like, oh, well, that's just my neighbor, my sister, brother, whatever. Like people just go along with things like Stanford prison experiment, whatever, right? Like people they slowly get used to it. They get used to dehumanizing people. Now suddenly it's okay. There's so many people who have literally watched kids starve to death or get bombed on camera who justify it. Because they're so far gone, like normal people otherwise, right? So like I'm not convinced that Americans will fight back because we have had like a lot of education about basically not doing that and accepting it. So
this is a CEO Retort podcast, the show that fearlessly goes after the difficult topics that we all need to talk about, campaigns for issues that we're all concerned about, and invites some amazing, inspiring, and remarkable guests who will help us navigate through this fragile world that we all care about. I'm Tim Al-Sheikh. Let's get after it.
You are listening to CEO Retort.
So yeah, we met through LinkedIn.
Yep.
And the reason why I really wanted to get in touch, because you kind of blew up on TikTok, and before we recorded you said that was a bit of an accident, but you actually blew up on LinkedIn as well, which I have to say I'm a little bit surprised by that, and we'll get into that later. So part of the tradition of the podcast, I always like to say that because we've got a lot of young people, they try to figure out what to do with their lives, and they've got degrees, school, yada yada, but as I said, I go to school sometimes, to universities, and they tell me the same stuff. It's like, I don't know what to do with my life, right? Yeah. Even though I've got a degree in whatever. But you can tell that they've done it because they were told it's a good idea rather than because they want to do it, yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So let's start with that. It's basically your journey, because you're still quite young, but you had a pretty remarkable journey. You've worked in all sort of random things, which I'm like, this is being an entrepreneur. There's no plan, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just tell the audience, if we're not familiar with your work and what you do, who you are, and how you reached where you are today.
Yeah, of course. So I do have a very varied career. I've always just been following my latest dream, my new dream. And I started in particle physics, actually, which is probably my first big career. And I worked in particle physics, supernova cosmology, did a lot of research on basically the boundaries of physics at the time. I worked at CERN for a bit, and then I worked at Lawrence Berkeley Lab, and both were very incredible experiences at the very, I guess, smallest levels of what we understand and the very largest levels of what we understand, physically speaking, yet a lot of commonalities in terms of how we as human researchers study them. So whether you're thinking about massive galaxies or the fabric of space-time itself, or very small particles within particles, right? Very similar mathematics, very similar coding requirements, very similar life researching. I absolutely loved it. I just felt like I wasn't able to make the kind of impact in the world that I wanted to. So I eventually switched into political science. I got a degree in law. I went to law school. And then I became an attorney for a while. And I still am an attorney. And I did a lot of cybersecurity, national security law. I had the opportunity to represent Fortune 500s, worked with a big law firm, worked for the federal government a bunch of different ways, and most notably at the National Commission on Service. We drafted a lot of legislation for how to basically inspire more people in the United States to serve. And one of the big things we came across was civic education. And for that work, I ended up getting an Outstanding Achievement Award from the Office of Secretary of Defense. So I felt like that was obviously a career I was very passionate about, and where I felt like I could finally make a really big difference. I also, at the time on the side throughout all this process, was a journalist, started becoming an influencer accidentally, was covering a lot of policy analysis online, became a top writer on Medium, did a couple TEDx talks, like sort of brand building stuff, establishing myself. When the pandemic hit, I had actually been planning to take a bit of a break, travel a bit. I traveled a lot growing up. I was excited to do that again. And then we accidentally, so my co-founders and I accidentally started a viral nonprofit to provide free mentorship to folks and mental health support, help people through the early stages of the pandemic. That became Dweebs Global. And after that, one thing led to another, and we launched another nonprofit called the U Voice Sentinel, or it's now named the U Voice Sentinel. We provide amazing citizen journalism to folks around the world. And it was very much taking all of those different parts of my career in the past. And now we're launching U Voice as a social platform as well. So we're a social media company that rewards users for tangible impact. And that combines basically every part of my prior experience, in that it is a civic engagement media platform online. It's about uplifting voices globally, highlighting writers, articles, authors, helping influencers with diverse perspectives actually do more meaningful work online, rewarding people who create change in the world, create viral movements, as opposed to people who just want to be rich and famous, trying to reshape society, really. Pro-democracy, just doing social media better. And, I get to use a lot of my technical background again, which is nice as well. Prior to, I think, UVoice, I taught Python to law students when I was in law school. And that was the last time I was really very technically active. So it's really exciting and a great summation of all of that. And then I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't mention on the side, I was and still am and keep up with, and sort of a concert pianist and composer. And then I do art. So I do commissioned art. So those are more like in another life, I could do those full time, but I don't, but I make sure I keep it active because I think it's really important to use all different parts of your brain. So yeah, I probably missed something, but that's the general art.
We'll get into it. That's it's a sort of brain that where parents would try and figure out what the hell you do, right? It's like when my parents were alive, they would say to me, like, they still could not, when their friends asked them, what does Tim do? And they're like, we have absolutely no idea. I think that's...
You've lost your parents. That has to be really hard. I can't even imagine. I don't want to imagine. It sounds truly.
Yeah, no, it was difficult because it happened during the pandemic. Both of them.
Was it COVID related or? Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. It's like It's well, with my father it was both indirectly. It was through long COVID.
Oh.
But the thing is that they lived in different countries. So my mom, because my father lived in Dubai and he passed away there. My mom lived in Moscow, Russia. She passed away there. And of course, we had the lockdowns. Wasn't allowed to travel, which means I could not be there when they died or for their funerals, that kind of thing.
No. So sorry.
So that was, yeah. No, it's good. Yeah, well, you have to accept that sort of thing. I mean, I suppose, ironically, perhaps because I was not there, it was less painful, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was more angry. I mean, because of course we had the government here under Boris Johnson when you probably, I don't know how much coverage you had about that in the US, but basically, you know, they told us we're not allowed to be without, dying loved ones, but they were partying in number 10.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's thing that unfortunately happened so often where rich people throughout the pandemic or politically connected people were breaking quarantine, having parties, paying the fines because they can afford it. And I'm so sorry. I can't imagine how difficult that was to go through. I'm glad you seem at peace now and have worked through it. I mean, that must have been very difficult. So.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. I mean, because it's, you know, you talked about how your brain asked loads of different questions, right? Effectively, like you're kind of exploring all these different things. In fact, I like to use this term. I learned it from actually a guest that I had in the last episode with Dr. Pia Lauritsen. She's a Danish philosopher. I don't know if you know her, but she's a philosopher specialized in questions. She collected over 30,000 typical questions that we need to know about. 30,000 and counting.
Wow.
But she made a very beautiful point.
What's an example of one of these questions or typical questions we should know about?
You name it. It's like what's the meaning of life?
Okay, gotcha.
From that, but even simple questions like why do we do what we do the way we do it?
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
And the point that she highlighted so well is that by asking questions, we are challenging the status quo.
Yeah.
We are challenging our beliefs, right? Even if it's religious beliefs, right? We're challenging every single thing. And you always tend to find people who are in power tell you not to ask questions. Don't question us, believe. We had that with Brexit, for example. I always like to use this example for people to remember, right? With Brexit, don't question Brexit, believe in Britain. Yeah. Don't question Trump, believe in America.
Right.
Right? Don't question God, believe in the Bible or whatever, right? It's always like that. It's always like that.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, what you've highlighted.
Yeah, it's a very astute observation.
Yeah, exactly. She's got 30,000 of them. So, but I think going back to the point of sort of my neurodivergent brain, because the main reason I embraced it, because my brain, the way it works, it's always asking questions, always. Like it can never stop. So for me, unless I get an answer, my brain will never stop.
Yeah.
I mean, so from one side of it, that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because I can't, you know, like I need to find peace. Like I need to find the why. Like, you know, going back to my parents, ironically, the reason why, you know, okay, there were reasons why they passed away. We had COVID because I always asked that question. And with my medical background, kind of made it easier. What happened? Tell me what happened. This happened.
Yeah.
Okay. I accept it. Right.
Yeah.
I can't travel. Why not? Because the law said we're not allowed to. Okay. I accept it. So it's like, so that kind of weirdly, it allowed me to find peace with that.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Right? Whereas one of the reasons why I could not, you know, I never said this publicly, but like one of the reasons why I quit medical science, because there are far too many open questions that make no sense. And I just could not accept not having an answer.
Yeah.
Right. But that would have meant that I would have to be in a lab for the rest of my life, hidden in a corner, pipetting and doing whatever. And that's just not me. I like to be out there. So I had to kind of change direction to kind of follow more ideas, more questions, etc. And that's why I asked you if your brain works in that way, because that seems to be like you went in those sort of
it works very
interesting
similar
directions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from physics to politics, it's like, how did that morph? Sorry?
Not politics yet. We'll see if someday, but policy.
Well, yeah, that's where it starts, right? That's where it
Oh
starts.
no, anybody who puts too fine a point on it like I'm doing has clearly been in politics far too long. So I'm outing myself. So.
But what was like the decision? Because that's I'm interested in finding that out. Because obviously,
why did I leave physics? You mean, and go to law
it's
school?
like you left physics, then you went to law school, and then obviously now you are on a mission to focus on public goods.
Yeah.
Right? So
I would say that's always been the case. And so I think that's why I left physics, is because I was not able to see the through line on using physics to impact the world today. I am still a huge, huge fan of physics research, science, the way you work in physics. Science is too broad. I actually don't like biology personally, or chemistry. I never liked most.
I'm the opposite. I don't like physics. It doesn't work in my brain at all. So I don't know why.
But science is way too broad. Like very different brain types, different areas. Like, no, I love it. And at the end of the day, I just couldn't. I was like, people are dying now. Animals are dying now. The world needs help now. And if I spend the next 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it is in physics, and then worry about trying to impact the world, there will be things it's too late for me to do. So that is why I left physics, went to law school. My family was very supportive of me going to law school, because that was sort of the trajectory they saw in my life when I was growing up, because I'm very vocal. I stand up for a lot of human rights and stuff, even as a kid, which was not very much done in my community. And so they saw all of that and were like, well, you should empower yourself and empower your voice and learn how to deal with people effectively. And law school is the best way to do that. And so I definitely took my family's thoughts and wishes into consideration as well, because I think they've made really great choices in sort of child raising in the academic setting and stuff in that way. And so I did trust my parents' opinions a lot in that as well. So yeah, that's sort of why law school.
Did they campaign in anything? Like, are they actively involved in any policy or politics or campaigns or anything like that?
No, they actually were not very involved in political campaigns or anything external. I think for my parents, just immigrating to the US and being as progressive as they were was a really big deal. We are not really super in touch with a lot of our extended family just due to things like sexism. And my parents fought that quite a bit just by being who they were, coming to the country. Even between them and other family members who were in the United States, they were much more progressive. And so to really just set us up for life, they had to be politically active, small p, in a small way in the family at a minimum. And then growing up, we were always having political conversations at dinner, reading a lot of political books. My parents had us reading The Economist since I was maybe like 8 or 9 years old. So yeah, they weren't part of like political campaigns or like campaigning externally.
Right,
they were very well networked within like the local business community and things like that. And obviously there's always a political angle.
So what do they feel about you basically saying the things that you're saying in social media?
They don't really they're not really on social media. So like, I don't really follow me and like read everything I put out there. Like, to be honest, like actually most of my family and friends in real life do not read all my social media stuff. Like that's just like, and I love that, by the way. I'm very thankful that I'm not surrounded by influencers, because I think then it's easy to let it get to your head and to just not be like down to earth and go touch grass. So my parents, one of the big things they did that was really, really good for my career, and I talk a lot about this now that everyone's talking about child protections, not letting children online, is they knew I was on and supported me being on social media from a very young age. They saw, my dad especially saw it was a new trend that was growing, that it was something that I should know how to use because it was going to be a tool of the future. And they've always made sure that my sister and I had tech early. So they didn't ban us from being on the internet. They wanted us to learn how to use it and use it well. They wanted us to learn how to email and email well and DM and comment and be on social media. And so early on, my parents checked every single article, every post, every email, but it was never something they mandated. It was just something I wanted them to do because I knew I was learning and I trusted them. And then eventually I got the hang of it and I continued doing it on my own. And I definitely think that's the right way to like sort of raise kids to be online healthily, is to obviously help them, because if I didn't have that, then I'm sure I would have said something that was wrong or inappropriate or gotten myself into a situation that was harmful. So yeah, they helped me get there. I think now they trust me to do what I'm doing. So unless they're interested, and they're not really on socials.
Yeah. No, but I agree. I think banning children from social media, I think it's a terrible idea. Like, even though I push for and campaign for digital ethics and responsible tech, etc. But that does not equate to banning. It means for me that the onus is on the tech companies to make more effort to ensure that their technology is safe, which they're not doing. I mean, obviously they say they're doing, but I'm telling you, I am part of that world. They're not doing it because it's hard. It's hard. It's expensive.
It's hard, and it's not in the interest of current social media, which I think is more important because end of the day, right, you need your incentives to align. If it is in the incentives right now, big tech and big advertising companies to basically get children addicted to advertising, to gambling, to buying products online because there's money in it for them. And that's really where the harm lies. And if you were enforcing better algorithms, anti-addictive algorithms, not targeting children with specific ads or specific apps that have in-app purchases, that all makes sense to me. The real problem that I think when it comes to legislation like this or anything is like you, I've been on both sides. I've been on the tech side and I've been on the government side trying to legislate it. And end of the day, you can't ban children without banning adults and without really, really destroying online free speech. And people are realizing that now in countries that have tried to start banning children is that they've realized, okay, what you're doing is driving a lot of free speech websites out of business. And even if you're not driving them out of business, people are too paranoid to now basically even allow adults to do what they want to do online because there's no way to guarantee someone isn't a kid. And that's why I really do think personal responsibility is important. Like, parents, watch your kids, help your kids, don't make the government do it.
Yeah. Well, I agree. It needs to be both because the issue that I have in terms of parents, now, you see, for somebody like me, it's very easy to teach my kids about tech because I'm a tech entrepreneur. I'm one of the people that built the AI model, so they understand AI more than most people because I explained it to them.
That's amazing.
Which is great. But a lot of parents don't have that privilege. So for me, I think it's important. I personally would not blame parents to some extent. Maybe they need to be more responsible, but at the same time, and studies have shown this many times that parents don't know how tech works or how AI works. They think, for example, that ChatGPT is a search engine. They don't know that their kids could use ChatGPT as a boyfriend or girlfriend.
Yeah,
which actually messes up their mental health.
And I think this is where governments need to come in as education for sure. And in some countries like the United States, there's been like a 60-year campaign of basically de-education, like trying to diminish, deprioritize education intentionally, keep the population ignorant, etc. And it's really, really important that the government doesn't do that. The government is actively taking a role in education. So I totally agree. And I don't think I blame parents either, even if parents get it very wrong, because this is a really new world. And I think a lot of folks are trying their best. I just always think the question with a lot of things, even outside tech, a lot of political questions is like, is it the government's place or is it the parent's place? Is it the individual's place? And that is where I tend to want less government interference because I've seen how badly it can go, especially from a surveillance perspective, where I think a lot of us have forgotten or have implicitly agreed to the kind of insane surveillance that we are all under now. And it's not good. And I kind of know about that. And so I want to prevent that when possible.
But doesn't the surveillance effectively comes through the actual companies themselves, even though it's no regulation? So Facebook isn't regulated, Palantir aren't regulated.
Often,
all the surveillance comes through them. Often
governments are paying a lot of money to get that data, or they are intentionally allowing backdoors or encouraging backdoors so that they can have that data. When you have governments suddenly pushing for everybody being verified online with a government ID, they may say ostensibly it's to prevent children. And I am well aware of what that kind of data and data tracking can do to actually impinge on freedoms of everyone, including adults worldwide. So this is why I'm like, yes, the idea is great. But how do we get there? And when you get there, what are the unintended or maybe intended side effects of the laws that you're passing or regulations you're passing or companies you're creating? All of that, right? Sometimes people who do this for a living, people who are lobbyists, government regulators, et cetera, they're well aware of those secondary consequences. And very often that's not what they market to people because they know that it's easy to sell certain legislation or to sell companies or ideas by just sticking to the marketing buzzwords, when in reality they're doing something more nefarious and they're trying to pull the curtain over it. So that's what troubles me. And I think it goes back to what you were talking about, like education. A lot of people don't know that, wouldn't understand it, don't know who to trust, even if they could understand or get who do you trust? Because everybody's saying a different thing. And that's definitely a concern. So I wouldn't blame anyone, parents either.
So what is your opinion on European approach to the AI Act? Because obviously we have a debate in here as well. And I'm in the camp where I feel that Europe is doing the right approach. Of course, it hasn't been fully implemented, so we don't know. But they're not, again, from the point of view of AI, because that's the part that I know. I mean, you can cause a lot of damage with very little AI algorithms. You don't need massive, language models or any AI models to cause havoc. I mean, Cambridge Analytica didn't use massive AI, right? So, and I always talk a lot about that. So the EU AI Act kind of tries to push towards that responsible innovation from the point of view saying, like, look, if your AI can achieve certain things, then that means it's in danger. Therefore, it has to be licensed. There's a lot of different things that they're trying to do. And of course, we have a debate whether that's going to work or not. Now, in my opinion, I think at least they are trying. They're not telling companies like mine or anybody else, look, don't innovate. But they're saying, if you build a bomb, you are responsible for what happens if it blows up, basically, right? That's like in using that analogy. But I'm interested from the American perspective. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah. So it's very interesting because my answer for almost everything non-AI is different than it is for AI. So for non-AI, as you've probably picked up, I'm very anti-regulation. It's gone horribly every single time, and it is generally squashed innovation. It has taken companies out of business and left only monopolies and large sharks and more evil players because it's a mess. And those are the people who can lobby and get exceptions or pay for moderators or whatever their new rule is. And they know that. In general, a free and fair internet is a really important human right. In my opinion, it is a way to equalize the entire world. It is incredibly important, et cetera, et cetera. The reason I think AI is an exception is I've studied AI since the 2000s, since I was a very small kid. And in reality, AI is a lot more dangerous than anything we've looked at before. This is not something where we maybe screw up for a generation. We need to figure out how to then claw back certain innovations or have regulations in place or help people navigate a new world. It has the potential to destroy the planet. Has the potential to destroy the biosphere. So at that point, I don't even care, right? Like if you create a bomb, you're responsible. At some point, you might create such a big bomb, it doesn't matter. Like you've ruined everything and responsibility, it doesn't matter. And so because AI is so different, I generally support regulations on AI or ways to try and limit, even though I don't think the specific EU push is going to work. I'm glad they're trying something, right? Like you got to try something to regulate it to be like, hey, this you need to do it ethically. You need to develop it ethically. Everybody should not be like Peter Thiel or Sam Altman levels of like, I don't care because I'm making money. Right? It's really important to try and reward companies that are doing so ethically. The question then becomes, obviously, if you squash the innovative speed of companies that are at least trying to do good or are based in the EU, which on average, in my experience of working with thousands of companies, on average, companies in the EU are more socially responsible. If you slow down their innovation or get in their way, is it possible that what will happen is you have a company in China or the United States with no limitations on that then has market control and ends up doing way worse because it doesn't even have competitors that are at least slightly better. And I don't know what the answer to that is. So I'm glad people are trying different solutions. I think AI and AI ethics are absolutely essential parts of the conversation. This is not the same free-for-all internet. This is not a town square. This is something which, again, has the potential to destroy the biosphere. And people keep forgetting that. And it started as a fringe conspiracy theory or people didn't really understand it because AI is such a broad word. The other thing is I hate the word AI, right? Like, because it covers everything from like basic machine learning to like, whatever, like the artificial intelligence sentience that's taken over the whole planet, right? This is just, it's not, I hate the word, right? But where we're getting is potentially very dangerous, economically dangerous for physical safety, dangerous for global markets, dangerous for the future of modern war, paperclip problem. And I don't see that there are any good answers to that. And I am concerned about the tech rush to innovate being completely unregulated. So that's my long answer is usually I don't support, but AI, I do support a lot more regulation.
I mean, but sort of as a reminder to the listeners, I always like to tell people that AI has been part of your lives for well over 20 years.
Yeah.
Like it was behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Even social media, when people talk about, oh, look, social media screwed up people's behaviors and stuff. Well, actually, yeah, because they use the AI recommendation system. It's AI that caused that. So now
Exactly.
that they have,
People keep saying LLM, like AI, when they mean LLM. I'm like,
yeah. Well, the thing is, some people think because of ChatGPT, they literally believe that that's AI. They think that AI was invented 2 years ago, and that's another thing that narrative that I try to break. I said, actually, guys, no, AI has been around for 70 plus years as a concept, even longer than that. But in terms of the AI as you see it today, the impact that it had on the world, that's 20 years. I built some of these things 20 years ago. I know, guys. Like, I've been there.
Yeah.
So,
no, I was building machine learning algorithms like when I was like 11, 12 years old. And like, it's the same question.
It's not new.
Exactly. It's not new. And it's like back then it was the same question. Where is this going to go? And at the time I was already very involved in conversations about AI ethics in the future and futurism, basically. And it was very clear even from then, AI was the big danger. Always has been. That was going to be the big trial of our generation or our lives, our time. And I'm not too happy about the way it's going.
Yeah. Well, they never cared. I mean, I started to talk more about it when I was at Google campus in London in 2014, because we already had the idea of, I mean, my company built language models, right? I mean, DeepMind, where they were part of the same cohort, they built their thing, like, with that kind of the predecessor of AlphaFold. So we could already see the power and the direction of play where the industry is going. And in 2014, I was saying, we need to start, we need to have some kind of guardrails or human intervention, some kind of regulation, something.
Yes.
But no one listened. And basically companies like indeed Google, unfortunately, but definitely Facebook at the time before Meta, they just quadrupled down. They said, no, let's go all in on AI. And that was the point where I started to want to speak out a bit more and more and more. But I had investors behind me, which is like, beyond control.
I'm very public about this because at the end of the day, it's short-sighted not to be, right? I want investors to know, anyone to know, we use AI responsibly because we're not using that, we're using this, right? AI is in everything, we're using it responsibly. But at the same time, it's short-sighted, even if it did hurt your company, Google, OpenAI, whatever it is, to ignore that, because we're talking about consequences that could devastate humanity and the world within everybody's lifetime. We're not talking about, I'm going to make it rich, I'm going to live my life, be a billionaire, and this is going to be 60 years, 100 years in the future. We're talking about potentially, very, very bad in the next decade. And so there's an interview Peter Thiel did, which went viral recently, about how he was asked whether or not he wants to protect humanity, save humanity, like whether humans deserve to live. It was something really obvious. And he hesitated and he basically was like, I don't know. That is how these people think. I grew up around these people. I'm from the Silicon Valley. They don't care as long as they're the person who gets the big idea, the big product. They make money in the short term. And they're very convinced that they are going to be the billionaires who survive whatever apocalypse they might create. And we've seen that sort of attitude, by the way, that's nothing new, from people in power for thousands of years, right? If you're proximity to power, you think you're going to be the exception. We see this with war. We see this with war when it's, when war gets created in the Middle East by people who think it's not going to affect them. They're like, well, I'm going to get out of it because I'm rich. We see this all the time. But now we have the unique opportunity of seeing it with something that could truly end the potential of ever fixing it. And that's what worries me.
I mean, you see, and that goes back to, I guess, the short-term solution, some sort of regulation to regulate these people.
That's why I want to try something. Let's try everything we can try.
I mean, in the future, it has to be education, because like the idea is like we need to, teach sort of the future generation, the alpha, the Gen Alphas, and I hate the term Gen Beta. Just come on, who came up with this idea?
It's already been proven that generational science is not a thing. It doesn't replicate. It's not accurate. Like, why are people so obsessed with that? I don't know. But the key thing, like, it's to start really teaching them about the realities of these things. It's for them to start to say, look, the older generation, maybe, I don't want to be attacking anybody. Baby boomers, right? My parents' generation, they kind of fucked up because they people going about like, or rather, they themselves say that they struggled. I'm like, nah, My grandparents who fought in the war, they struggled. They had to they had to fight against Nazis. They had to clean up afterwards to create the world that our parents' generation, right? The baby boomers could grow up and smoke weed in the 60s and have fun, make shitloads of money, get into the property ladder when the houses were costing like $5,000 or whatever instead of $5 million. Yeah.
Right? So they had it easy. And they're the ones that are attacking the younger generation. Like they kind of created the environment that we have today. They call it capitalism.
Very literally, they have helped create this environment where it is, 40 degrees in London.
Yeah. And they complain. They're the ones that are complaining. They're the ones that influence Brexit here in the UK. They're the ones who want to make America great again, whatever the hell that means.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and this is the issue I have. And again, I'm generalizing. I'm not saying I know baby boomers who are not like that. Okay, that's for the listeners not to attack me about this. But the fact is that we're seeing, and I've kind of been noticing this at least for 15 years, that there's sort of this old school versus new school. We had the millennials that they were kind of confused. We've got my generation, the Zennials or whatever, Gen X, whatever you call them, right? That we're the ones that kind of we're the internet generation where we're pushing the internet, the innovation and the AI, I guess, and so on.
So
but I still did not see the level of attack that Gen Zers are getting right now in the younger generation, where basically like they treat them as enemies. Like I look at the language that they use, they're like not just, I suppose people on the right. I mean, I don't want to get too political, but people on the right, they attack the young generation, even Gen Alphas, right? Yeah. And they see them as a threat, like real, genuine threat. That they're the ones that will dismantle the system that basically has been around for such a long time, created by the baby boomers, right?
Yeah.
And this is what worries me a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I often cite that whole, like, they're getting us to fight the race war or the gender war or the generation war to avoid
war,
class war, whatever it is. I actually think that, all of those things are obviously inextricably intertwined, right? Like trying to have a more just future, a more racially equitable future, a more gender equal future, whatever it is. And I think that genuinely, the reason that a lot of boomers who have power, had power, are scared or are attacking younger people who are a threat to their way of life, or you have white people doing this to black people, men maybe doing this to women, whatever it is that it is in fact true that if you are used to privilege, equality will seem like injustice. And I think that, and I saw some version of that on social media once, and I was thinking that really hit the nail on the head for me, because I talk to people who genuinely look at their life as under threat, and I see how to them it is under threat for their children to not automatically have a leg up because of who they are, the color of their skin, or their gender. They feel it's under threat because they can no longer get this level of respect and entitlement just for being who they are, which they used to get and now they don't. So they have lost something in the aim of equality. And I think a lot of younger generations are kind of okay with that, maybe because we grew up on the internet, we have our identity surrounded by being pro-social justice, so it's harder to shake that. In fact, I saw a recent study that says millennials are not becoming more conservative as they age at the same rate as previous generations did. And I think part of the reason, this might be one of the good sides of social media, I think part of the reason for that is because of social media. We've been so public about our identities. It's harder to change. It's harder to be like, oh, suddenly now I'm going to protect me, myself, and I, when I know the world is watching me. And I have to continue to be public, like to care about other people, because that's a part of my identity. And I think that's a good thing. Obviously, there's ways it's gone wrong, but I think hopefully sometimes I feel like the world may be okay because of the social justice leaning activism, et cetera, that I see in younger generations. I think it's up to like 87% of Gen Z and millennials buy on beliefs. Like they believe that they want to work with brands or buy from brands who do good in the world. And that's incredible to me. It's a good sign.
No, that is true. That's something even Apple jumped onto. When was it when they kind of jumped on the whole privacy thing? It was pre-pandemic? Was it pre-pandemic? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was pre-pandemic. Yeah.
It was a while back. Yeah. And it was like, I always say to people that, I try to be pragmatic, because obviously part of this, unfortunately, even though, you've got maybe the Googles of this world and Microsoft, etc., that could be part of the problem. But in fact, they are part of the solution because they hold all the cards, right? They've got all the...
These are natural monopolies, and we don't regulate them like natural monopolies, even though they are. But
yeah. But at least, using Steve Wozniak's, I saw an interview he gave. I can't remember with who, where he kind of obviously he's not part of Apple anymore, but you could say he's biased towards Apple, right?
Yeah.
But he said that Apple, at least, okay, it's a corporate, it does what corporates do, whatever. But it's still, compared to the others, they are the gooder guys, right?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like all of that is a little bit of like branding and like how people brand.
Well, it has to be. It has to be. But at least, but I welcome the fact that they are prioritizing privacy
exactly.
Because even with AI, like one of the reasons, again, and people kind of, I even did a whole episode about this, is that why Apple actually is walking away from this whole AI hype, because people say, oh, Apple is struggling because they're gonna lose, they're gonna die, and I'm like, douchebags, look at the data right now. The iPhone, right, is the highest selling phone in the world, right? And the older iPhone, they're holding the second, third, and fourth place, and in the distant fifth place is Samsung, right? So that's not doesn't sound like a company that is struggling, but in fact, what data is showing that because it doesn't have built-in AI like Google does with Gemini or whatever, people are actually flocking to the iPhone because they don't want AI.
Yeah.
And what Apple has been saying, that they want AI to be on device, which is basically edge AI. So they don't want your data to be shared in the cloud somewhere, like as you see with all the other AI models.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. This is actually the whole point of AI, that it needs to be private. And Apple seems to be kind of working on that. And I think that's a good thing, despite the fact that, they are a monopoly as well. But
I mean, they're still training on a lot of public data. And then also, right, when it comes to Apple, right, and when it comes to Apple or really anyone else, right, I think one of the big problems with capitalism in the Silicon Valley market, right, is doing well is not good enough. You always have to be growing your company. So owning the market or doing well is not enough. And that's wild. And that's how we've ended up in this situation, because any decent business that makes things traditionally, right? Clothing designer shop, you go to a local restaurant, they're happy to be like, okay, we have a restaurant, it has a good turnover, we're feeding people, great, right? There's a huge culture, especially in the Valley, of basically, that's not good enough. Now you need to own a second restaurant. Now you have two restaurants, now you need to open a chain. Now the chain needs to start having stock. Now the stock needs to go IPO, and now I got to be bought by Yum. And like, it's like, there's no like good enough is good enough. And that obviously means you have a lot of companies chasing the next big goalpost, and if that's AI right now, it's AI. But I mean, I like what we were talking about earlier, because at the end of the day, all these companies use AI. We're talking about like integrated LLMs, and that's a very specific thing. So
for those of you who followed me for a while, you would know that I'm neurodivergent, meaning that my brain is kind of unpredictable. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It has its own mind, so to speak. But one of the things that I really did struggle with my entire life, including today, is focus. So I was terrible at school as a result of that. I couldn't focus at university. I can't even focus when I'm working on my desk. And the big problem for me was figuring out ways to help me do that. The strategy that worked for me my entire life was actually music. But I would spend hours, literally hours, figuring out the songs that work best for a particular mood, whether I wanted to focus on something, or I wanted to relax, or wanted to sleep. Whatever it is, I would have to find the right song for that. And it kind of worked, though it wasn't predictable. Like I said, I would waste a lot of time trying to figuring out, until I discovered our new partners, Brain FM, who actually used real science to figure this issue out and build an app that creates functional music engineered to sync with your brain. I'm telling you guys, this is real science, because they actually created a patented approach that as many of your brain cells, your neurons, are bringing all of the electrical signals to focus collectively into that one task that you're doing, or even if you want to relax or if you want to sleep. I absolutely love the interface. It's super simple. You can just choose what it is that you want to do, whether you want to focus, you want to relax, sleep, or meditate. And you can build your own list of some of the favorite songs that they produce. And I have to highlight that a lot of these songs are actually produced by real human composers. And it's lovely, lovely app that you can download onto your computer, your mobile phone, or you can just listen to it online. It's really simple. It's really cool. But above all, it works. If it works on my brain, it should work with your brain as well. So if you check out brain.fm/CEOR, and you'll see a dedicated page to our podcast, and you will get an exclusive, really, really long free demo that you can just download the app and listen at your leisure. No limitations. You can try it for yourself and see if it works. Let me know if it does work for you. because I absolutely fell in love with this thing so quickly, like within a couple of weeks. And I thought I have to reach out to these guys because also I want to support independent businesses. So check out brain.fm/CEOR. And the big thanks to Brain FM for supporting the podcast. And now, back to the episode. But just for me, out of curiosity, because you mentioned one of the reasons you're anti-regulation apart from AI, because what happened in the USA, effectively the regulations effectively created these monopolies. Can you elaborate with that? How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually slightly more complex than that. I would say it is like regulation can feed into monopolies and often does, and that's because the United States has a really, really corrupt government. And I know that everybody knows that now, but really, it's always been the case for a very long time. Our Congress members and our Capitol Hill is bribed and bought and has been for a really long time. And end of the day, that is primarily because, well, there's many reasons why, but obviously there's a lot of corporate money and corporate donations that are not tracked. And nobody reads bills, okay? Nobody reads legislation. Most Congress members don't read legislation before they pass it. You know who does read it? Really, really expensive attorneys who work at these companies who make sure that there are little tiny edits in there that make sure that these bills support them. We have pennies still in the United States because the lobbies that, use pennies in like vending machines or do those little penny stamp things, right? They want there to still be pennies, so they lobby to keep pennies in circulation. Any small thing in the US, okay, is so legislated based on who has financial interests. So if you start, for example, let's just use this example. If you have a mandatory moderator requirement where you say every single thing needs to be moderated, and if you have a single video that comes out that says something wrong, it's now the responsibility of the platform owner. Who do you think can afford billions of dollars in moderation? That's only going to be existing companies. You're not going to have any small players grow because there is no way to moderate. We saw this with Tumblr, actually, when they basically passed a law that there's a very long story there. We're going to cut that story out. They basically passed a law that said that you have to like not have whatever they defined as like porn or are basically female presenting nipples and artwork online if it were going to like be viewed by, and it wasn't just children, it was like you're going to be responsible for sex work on your site, whatever it is, right? It was basically aimed at like cutting down on keeping prostitutes safe, quite frankly, but whatever, right? And as a result, Tumblr could not afford to deal with that, so they just banned anything that could be sexual, which included a lot of artwork, because there was a lot of queer folks on Tumblr who were doing artwork that was representative of like their identity, and a lot of it was fulfilling a very specific niche at a time when that was very important, right? Because like straight people could get, I don't know, whatever they usually get their porn from or whatever, right? But there was like art that was about gender identity. It wasn't just like sex or something. It was like genuinely fulfilling an important cultural need. Not that sex isn't an important cultural need. Like everybody do what you want, right? That's the freedom of being an adult. Go do what you want, right? As long as you're not hurting anyone else. But when Tumblr banned it, was actually like it put a lot of people out of business who were artists, who were creative, who were trying to, just express their identity. There was this like famous post where somebody who was trans took pictures of their chest every day during the transition. It was like, at what point does it become female presenting nipples as opposed to male presenting nipples, right? It's stupid. And what it does is it prevents, even a big company like Tumblr could not afford the kind of moderation and upkeep. So they just banned it all. And so moderation is a really big example where when you have companies responsible for moderation, you are going to privilege the largest companies, and that's it, because other companies cannot afford to moderate. Even other big companies cannot afford to moderate. And then you have the result of what happens when you do that, which is there is no free speech, because anything that could be vaguely amiss, a company is going to err on the side of taking it down, because they don't have the time, bandwidth, or energy to know whether or not this was bad. For example, on TikTok today, right? If you mention the word drugs, you're going to get your account banned. Your live will go down. Your account will be banned. They'll worry about it later. But the reason they do that is not just to be nefarious. It's because they don't know, and they don't have the time to moderate every single thing that happens. So they don't know why you're mentioning it. Are you just talking about the law, or are you like actually selling drugs? They don't know. So they just block it.
Wow. So much for AI moderation, which obviously can't even tell the difference. It's ridiculous.
I mean, I don't to the point where they can start telling the difference. But again, is a company going to stake a lawsuit on it getting it right, or are they just going to ban it all because it's easier?
Yeah. Well, the problem with what I learned throughout the years that I mean, well, the big companies do that for sure, but even smaller companies, they do what's easier rather than what works, and that in fact goes back to the point I made earlier in terms of they don't want to do responsible AI because it's hard. They do it. They want the easy stuff. They don't want the ethics. They don't want the guardrails because. Not because it's not possible, it's just it's hard to do. They want to move
it's hard
fast
to do and
breaking.
it's expensive. And if you're a small company, like I don't judge any company. I've talked to like CEOs or executives who have been making these decisions, even at large companies. And it's not that any individual person is trying to be evil in this case, right? It's that they're in a hard place. They don't know. It's very hard to like get the money approved to do something that isn't going to have a monetary feedback to shareholders of the company because that's their duty. And this is why I really say the system is broken. The system today rewards people doing the wrong thing. Then you can blame people. I'd still blame people for doing the wrong thing. Like you should fight and all. But in reality, to be like very like honest about human nature, it's better to just reward the kind of behavior you want.
Well, I would argue to get rid of shareholders. Or not because of fiduciary duties. I mean, look, I see myself as a capitalist. So I'm an entrepreneur.
The CEO isn't evil. So.
Yeah, well, but because the thing is, I mean, like you actually alluded to something that people aren't naturally evil in the world of tech, and I can speak certainly at Google campus. Like none of us was talking about wanting AI to replace humans. None of us was talking about AGI. Everybody was trying to solve a problem, right? So my company at the time, we were trying to solve the misinformation problem, which was already a problem in 2012, right? That was a thing.
Yeah. It was. People forget about this, but even Obama's first campaign was rife with it. 2012 was Obama's second campaign. It was rife. Yeah. There was rife with people attacking him for things that were completely untrue. They weren't giving him credit for Obamacare. People didn't know the difference between Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act, which is the same thing. People thought it was two different things. But there was so much misinformation and racism going around then, and nobody knew how to deal with it then either. It's just gotten way worse.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the crazy thing. I mean, so no, I agree that it's not. Even the founders, I don't believe it's the founders. I mean, the founders who, if your company got acquired by Google, you basically become part of Google. You're an employee, right? So as a founder, you have to do what the boss tells you, or you get fired or whatever, or sued. So no, I agree in that. Like, there's not evil. This is the issue that I have, because when you end up in a situation where shareholders have to come first all the time because it's your fiduciary duties to make sure that the shareholders come first, then guess what? You screw everything else up. Yeah. I mean, like in the UK, for example, we have this scandal going on, out of many. But we had the water companies that
I know. Yeah.
About the sewage thing that they
still paid. Yeah, they paid out the bonus.
They still paid, and they're loss making. I mean, the thing is, it's not like they are generating revenue, but they're not profitable. So basically, they took money from government, loans from government, and they used the loan to pay off their shareholders. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? This is what kind of business is this, right? It's ridiculous. So to me, get rid of shareholders, or I think, shareholders, if you have investors that put their own money into your business, it's a risk. They should get rewarded. I agree with that, but you can't do that by saying, okay, well, actually, forget our customers, forget our employees, forget the ethics. We want to make sure that our investors are happy. I think they should come last, in my opinion.
This is why I think government regulation has to come in, right? Because otherwise the incentives are all wrong for every company, and you can't. Any company that's ethical is almost definitionally going to fail versus any company that isn't, because they're going to make money. So this is where government regulations have to come in. One of the big problems with social media and other natural monopolies in tech, OpenAI even comes to mind, is that by the time government catches up to the fact this is a monopoly, it's almost too late. Nobody's enforcing any sort of traditional monopoly regulations on them. Traditional social media honestly kind of operates like a town square, which means it honestly kind of operates like a government function, meaning things like free speech should apply, but nobody is enforcing that, and you can't enforce it because they're like, well, it's a private company. If they decide they want to promote racist content, well, the private company can decide they're going to promote racist content, and you don't have a claim of action against them the way you would if the government were running a service, because then you would be like, you're squashing free speech. And I think that the problem there is it frankly does operate like a traditional government service, but nobody wants to enforce it like that. So, if you own a company town in the United States, you cannot ban like posters that you disagree with, because even though you own the land, you are doing a traditional government function. So you have to allow people to behave like you do have free speech requirements because you're behaving like a government.
Yeah.
And I think the same should apply to big social media. Like, LinkedIn comes to mind because I'm active on LinkedIn. And I think, you should not be able to squash posts for like calling out transphobia or for being, you should not be able to do that, because that's wrong. And you are basically like a government function. Where else are you supposed to go and post? Like, there is no other job board. There is no other, right? You have such a large monopoly that you're basically like a government. And that is a huge problem. And unfortunately, the government does not agree with that. The Supreme Court does not agree with that, right? Like, they have their own interests because, frankly, the government in the US, which still largely sets tech standards for the world, is extremely bought out. And that's why it should matter to everybody, whether or not you live in America. I mean, I no longer live in America. And it's very, very important. It's affecting the whole world because the money is there, tech is there, and a lot of innovation is there, massive military, obviously. And it's impacting the rest of the world.
So is it worse now under Trump, or is it Trump just simply exposed what has already been there, but it was very well hidden?
Worse under Trump. Oh my God. It's so bad. It's so bad. So, this is the thing, right? Like, he is breaking things to the point where I don't know if they're even fixable, right? Like, things were bad, but they were fixably bad, I would say. And the way that he is just diving straight into neo-fascism is terrifying. He's going faster than even I thought he would. And some of the procedural things he's doing are horrible. People talk a lot about the impact that he's making on real lives now, which is super, super important, right? He is killing people. At the same time, the long-term impacts that he is making, backsliding the country on things like race, justice, immigrants, whatever, like, he is setting up the procedural structure to basically completely squash American rights into the future. And it looks like that is genuinely the plan. So,
American citizens, not naturalized Americans, but we're talking about American citizens.
Yeah. Everybody has way fewer freedoms in America now. And it's getting really, really bad. And I also think that he is inspiring a lot of people in the rest of the world to go down that path. So you see a lot of people looking to Trump and looking to America and supporting a rise of fascism or anti-immigrant sentiment within their own countries. And a lot of the rhetoric they use is very American. There was that like viral photo of a Confederate flag in Poland. Like, why? That's insane. The only thing it stands for is racism. Like, you are not even part of America. Why are you flying the flag? I'm confused. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely bad. Just living in America has gotten way worse. Like, part of the reason I left is it had become completely unlivable as a brown woman. Like, just living my daily life had become completely untenable because there's just such blatant outgoing like racism now because it's normalized. And so there isn't the same societal backlash as like living here in the United Kingdom. Even if people think it, they're not going to say it to your face because there's still huge social backlash to just, being racist publicly. That there is
even in California.
Yeah. In fact, California is really very red and just has a few blue cities. So this is why I think that people like California is pretty conservative outside of like the cities,
LA and
the Bay Area is socially liberal, but pretty economically, fiscally, it's traditionally fiscally conservative / libertarian. Yeah. It's like a famous Silicon Valley libertarian phrase, right? Like, they're not, and the Silicon Valley is one of the most racist places I've lived in by far. It's incredibly
really wow.
Yeah. Not against me.
That's not how they portray themselves. They portray themselves as the most progressive, yada yada.
Yeah, no, it's very anti-Black in the Valley, and I've actually been involved in Black rights specifically since I was very young because I witnessed that in the Valley. And I'm not Black. I'm an ally, like support it. But I recognized that, even noticing that Indians in the Valley were treated so much better than Black people. Very, very segregated. Like, most of my friends weren't Indian. That was very unusual. Everybody just kind of like stayed within their pockets, and there was so much intraracial animosity in the Valley. So.
Like, so yeah. Do they prefer Indians because they see Indians as like they're the best in maths and black
No,
people are inferior or something?
there was a lot of anti-Indian racism too, but there was way more anti-black racism. So I would just say it was kind of like, yeah, I mean, I think people were very like economically motivated, right? But even within the Indian community, there was a lot of like North Indians and like South Indians and like North Indians. We were from a different state in India. Back home, people hated each other. So my dad's Tamilian, my mom's a Karnataka, different states back home in India. It's part of the reason we didn't have Indian friends, because somebody hated us regardless. So it's just very like tribal that way, or very like sequestered. I don't know what the right word is, but just very insular within each group, and it's segregated, I guess. Yeah, very segregated.
Well, that doesn't actually surprise me, because you look at the all of the sort of the language the likes of Peter Thiel and all of the top echelons of Silicon Valley are using, which is like eugenics, right? It's like they try to, they don't say it publicly directly, but you can see that they believe, okay, the white race is the supreme race, and everything else. They say
it publicly too. Like, I know people who have literally said it publicly, like to my face, that like some races are smarter than others, and like like white. It's always white people are superior, and like sometimes they want to include one group of people into it. They'll be like, well, also insert group here is not that bad, but everybody else sucks. But it's very and the thing is, when I was growing up, it was more subtle, and now it's overt. And because it's overt now, it's very dangerous, because the other thing, of course, is America has guns. So like when you travel in the middle of the country, or you like get into an altercation, you don't know if you're going to get shot. So it's very difficult. Like, and people in America are angry all the time. So like you just might be driving, people like road rage kills people. Like, people just pull out their gun and shoot people on the road in California. Like, it's a thing. So like just living under the consistent stress of like, you don't know if someone's going to be racist to you, like be very violently racist to you. And then if you stand up for yourself, are you going to get shot? You can't call the cops because they're very racist and violent, and calling the cops when someone is a death threat. And so it's very difficult. It's kind of like living in the Wild West, I guess, at this point. And you're either part of a gang, like you're either white and the cops protect you, basically, which is what I kind of see it as, like a gang at this point, or you MAGA cult or whatever. And it's completely unsafe outside of big cities. So we were like in the middle of nowhere, Utah, Idaho, that area, and cops pulled us over, wanted to run our license. Like, we're like basically brown people don't belong. Didn't see a brown person at all the entire time we were there. Everybody was staring at us. Very, very dangerous and racist if you're black or brown in the middle of nowhere. So if you want to like drive across the country, you drive big city to big city. And that got way worse. I've driven across the US 3 times now, and during the Obama years, it was considerably better than during the Trump years. So that's a part of how I think things are worse as well, is that just the average person has become emboldened to be a worse person.
Well, I mean, I tried to see if there's a positive spin to that, because I'm wondering, because obviously things like that don't just happen in an instant. It's like it was always there. Like, I can't remember who said, like, when you see the Silicon Tech bros, that they were saying, oh, they were always pro-Democrats, and then suddenly they switched to Trump. And I'm like, well, actually, I think, as you said, they're fiscally libertarians.
Yeah.
They always supported Trump, but they would not say it publicly because that wasn't
because
really
they
in
used
their
to
interest.
have economic consequences. Exactly. Just like this Pride Month, all the big companies didn't do their little Pride Parade or Pride flags because they never supported queer rights. They were just rainbow washing. And now that there's no money,
stuff, like how they dropped DEI as well.
They dropped DEI. Exactly. They never cared. And the thing is, I think if you ask a brown woman, or especially a black woman in America, they will tell you this. They told you this for years. Like, they told all of us this for years. And I think people didn't want to listen until it affected them. And it drives me crazy because you see people on like TikTok all the time these days being like, they always go viral. It's like, oh, I voted for Trump. I didn't think he would deport my dad, my husband. I'm like, what is wrong with you? You don't care until it impacts you. But, obviously I'm very pro-immigrant in general. My family are immigrants. I think immigrants make the world a better place, whatever, all of that. But more than that,
the whole world is an immigrant.
Thank you. Like, more than that, for all of human history until very recently, people used to just pick up and move. Okay. And that was it. It was difficult to move, but if you wanted to, you could. And there weren't borders like there are today. This is actually a really new thing. I think people forget that. Yeah. And second of all, the only reason that, quote unquote, everybody in the global south wants to come to these countries, and so we can't have everybody from the global south come and sit here, because all of the countries that are wonderful to live in today stole a lot of wealth from the global south. So they are very poor and they are still developing. And that is not fair to then say, I don't want you to come here so that we can keep all the stuff we stole. And so I think that...
And bombing them doesn't help either. When you bomb them and they get displaced, they kind of need to go somewhere, right? So
Yeah. I mean, this is... and that's a whole other can of worms because you can't just the dehumanization is insane. I experienced this in the Silicon Valley, experienced this in Washington, D.C. The dehumanization of powerful people in America, of people anywhere else in the world, is insane. A non-American life is worth nothing to these people, or worth very little. They will go out of their way to save one American life, especially a white American, let's say. A white girl goes missing and they have the entire community after they raise thousands of dollars, whatever. And you could have thousands, millions of people affected, 1 billion people affected, even, it doesn't matter, anywhere else, in what's happening right now in the Congo, right? Sudan, nobody knows or cares. They don't care because they literally don't look at them as human, or Indians, people in the Middle East, anyone. They just don't look at everyone else as human. And it's really sad to me.
And I'm just wondering, so going back to my, I don't want to say positive spin, but more of a hope that, because obviously, as you said, if you're an ethnic minority in America, you would have experienced racism anyway, but because it wasn't so in your face publicly the way we see it today, you would have the typical pushback, say, oh, you're just being over dramatic, especially if you're a woman, you're emotional, yada, yada. And I'm just wondering, maybe now that Trump has really broken everything so badly and he kind of exposed the reality of what America really is, as like what we see with Brexit here.
That I do think is a very valid point because, America has always had these dark threads and all of this, and people didn't care. And I think that's also one of the wonderful things about social media, to be positive about social media as well, as sphere that I'm really trying to disrupt and fix. And even then, I will say one of the things that's really positive is just how it's shone a light on so many things in the world. And that makes people who we used to dehumanize humans to people who may not have thought of them before. If you watch a genocide be live streamed, hopefully you're going to care and do something about it, right? And I think that helps keep people aware that these are human beings with families, with lives, with children, with their people, and we should care about them. And it was easier to dehumanize the Viet Cong than it is to dehumanize people living around the world today. So I mean,
because I suppose even if you're racist and you would see the genocide, you'd be like, surely it should kind of touch something in your mind somewhere that this is wrong, no?
Yeah, I would really hope so. I agree with you. It should happen. I don't think it's happening. I genuinely, I will tell you that I have been shocked, even though, as you can see, I don't consider myself a pessimist. I just consider myself a realist who's seen a lot of the world. Even then, I did think that people are better people than I think we're seeing today. I see people watch true harm and not care. And I don't understand. I don't understand how we've hit the point where, I don't know. I saw this video, right, of people in Israel having a bomb watch party, basically. And I don't understand at what point you get to the point where regardless of what you think about anything, that you want to do that. And I don't think it's unique. I don't think it's unique to that conflict. I don't think it's unique to a specific type of person or anything around the world. The downside might be that we're getting desensitized to violence or harm, and we just don't think it's our responsibility to fix things. I don't know anymore because I have seen people watch huge amounts of harm and suffering and then go ahead and be like, I don't care, or I don't have the bandwidth to deal with this, or it doesn't impact me in my life and I'm going to do nothing. And almost I feel like that's worse than if you don't know about it and do nothing. So I don't know, maybe I guess the way that I look at it today is 1% of people are superheroes. 1% of people are going to go out there and do something to fix things. I care a lot more about empowering those people than about complaining about everyone else or trying to change people's minds. If you don't get it, you don't get it. I'm going to focus on the people who are going to change the world.
Well, I think I mentioned Pia. From her philosophical perspective, she said that you can never change people's minds. It's basically, people are the way they are, but at least one way you can do is to engage with them in such a way where basically you present the questions to them.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a Socratic law school in a nutshell.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you present it, yeah, let them figure it out.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that they'll be convinced either.
Exactly. But also it takes so much time and effort and emotional energy to do that. And it's more rewarding and impactful to focus on people who are doing good, because there are millions of people doing that. It might be fewer, but they're more powerful. And so I think that's definitely where our focuses should be, is on the good people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm doing the podcast as well, in the sense that I feel I'm not trying to change people's minds. I just want to inform. I want to try to I want to break the narratives, kind of break it. Can I do what the Trump is doing by accident in America? I'm breaking the narratives apart and say, hey, look, that's the reality.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously I share my opinion, and I say I always share openly and as transparently as I can why I think that way, what are the reasons, etc. But that doesn't mean that I'm right. It's just my opinion. But you're open to your opinion, etc. But at the end of the day, I think it's important to have that space, because the thing what we've seen, certainly again I speak from the point of view of UK, is since the financial crash 2008, basically I think people started to lose faith in everything, the system that they trusted, because we had a system that was supposed to be looking after us, but then we had a bunch of bankers that fucked everything up, and then they got rewarded. And a lot of people live in today, they still suffer the consequence of the financial crash in 2008.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, but even like, for example, during the pandemic, again, who suffered the most? You mentioned earlier the mom and pop shops, etc.
Yeah,
they're the ones that suffered the most. They were forced into closure. They went out of business. Massive wealth was moved from the middle class and some of the poor, whoever that had some money left, to the rich. It's crazy. And people completely lost faith in everything and everybody. And 2010s. Yeah. And I know this because, like I said, we were fighting misinformation at the time. Yeah. And what we noticed, that there was this massive shift away from listening to experts. Yeah. And to listen and start listening to grifters. That's the decade of grifters. That's the decade that we saw the rise of the Brexit people around here, who literally went publicly.
Elon Musk,
Boris Johnson, Farage, and all these.
In general, like worshipping celebrities like they are literal God.
Yes. And
a lot of rise of evangelism in the United States, which, like, regardless of how religious you are, like, that causes extreme harm. Like,
It's like that. The grift is definitely, it's the decade of the grifters, and we're basically seeing the consequences of that. And I think this is, and I'm wondering, or at least again hoping, like in the same way that people trusted the financial system before 2008, and they realized how corrupt it was, and the fact that the bankers screwed everything up, so they stopped trusting it. So they needed an alternative. The alternative are the grifters, but now the grifters fucked up so badly because nobody can now look at Trump in the same way. Like you said, I voted for Trump. Some people say I voted for Trump, but I did not expect him to deport my wife. Or even though it was like, but we told you, guy. Like, I don't know anything about politics. I don't know enough for me to be an expert. But I literally made a video, I think I made two videos actually in August 2024, November 2024, where I could see the parallels with Brexit. Because it's the same people. It's the same people. The
2020, I think.
The think tanks that they use are the same.
Yeah, no, entirely. I mean, 2016, there was actually a video the British, like not the British government, but like a bunch of Brits put out in 2016 saying like, you guys should vote for Trump because then the Brexit won't be the most embarrassing thing to happen this year, and everybody will talk about that instead. No, I mean, it really saddens me because everybody is so isolationist and segregationist and like protective of their own identity and self. And I definitely think just educating, uplifting different people's voices, like you're saying, hearing how people got to be who they are, whether or not you endorse them, is important, so people just understand how the world works, hear different perspectives. And it's
brings me
valuable.
Sorry, carry on.
No, that's it. I was just saying it's valuable. Yeah, go ahead.
That kind of brings me nicely to your social media presence. So what happens How did you blow up on TikTok?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I just, I guess people wanted to hear or like hearing my voice. I give actually quite a bit of credit to the TikTok algorithm, which finds the people who want to hear from you. And so it was easy to grow for me because I found people who wanted to hear from me. And I'm very grateful for that because I think growing up was a big deal for me to have my voice heard. And I think that it's nice to feel like my voice is heard in some way now. And so, yeah, it was very accidental. We just started talking about as I'm saying this, I realize I'm used to saying that because it's what one ought to say, but it's not actually true. Like, it was accidental in that I don't think anybody can ever guarantee success, and I think it's important to think that way. And it's not. I didn't want to become a TikTok influencer specifically, or like sell on TikTok Shop or get a lot of money. But I did like post 3 times a day and start doing a lot of data analytics about what was doing well and pursue that because if I pick up something, I want to do it well. So I guess that's probably the best way to put it. That being said, like I actually have been off with TikTok for 6 months. I'm barely back now. I'm like doing a little bit here and there because it wasn't my primary goal. And I do want to talk and share my voice. But when TikTok got banned in the US and they did the whole little rigmarole of, oh no, Biden banned us. And then, oh, thanks to the amazing Donald Trump, we're back. And by the way, Trump has extended the TikTok ban like enforcement again, which he's actually not allowed to do constitutionally, but he just did it. Right? Like, anyway, whatever, like all that mess really put me off TikTok for a while because it was clear that the entire company, like everybody else, the CEO's corrupt. They're going to make their back channel connections. They're not like, but I think TikTok's a very, very important platform because on almost every other platform, you cannot criticize America or the West that you can on TikTok. And sure, on TikTok, if you mention the Tiananmen Square massacre or you criticize China, you're going to get banned. But I can do that on LinkedIn. I can do that on Instagram. I can do that on Blue Sky. What I can't do is go on LinkedIn and talk about how the U.S. government is incredibly corrupt or about pro-Palestinian activism. So I can do that on TikTok, right? So it's like, it's a balance. I think it's that whole thing where like power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We need to have competition. We need to have, if governments are going to secretly control social media, where you have these very rich and powerful people inextricably tied with the government who are controlling social media, it's important that some of them aren't American. And right now, TikTok is the only big non-American social media company, and at least it provides a outlet to criticize the American government. So here we are.
But then at the same time, you also blew up on LinkedIn. So how did that happen?
It was actually credit to my parents. Like when I was talking about earlier, where my parents were allowing me on social media and helped me figure it out at a young age. My dad highly recommended LinkedIn. So he was like, you should be on LinkedIn because that's where professionals are, business professionals. They'll help you grow your career. So I was on LinkedIn as a young teenager and I was writing a lot of articles, policy, politics, business stuff. And I went viral then and I had a lot of followers and legacy stuff. Then I went to law school. I worked at a firm. The government couldn't really post online as part of just working in the job. It was a requirement at some of my jobs that I didn't have post online. And then I just got back to it once I left and had time and ability to get back to it. So that one was more of a longer term thing. But I think especially when the pandemic hit and I offered a lot of free support to folks, that's sort of the viral post that ended up leading into Dweebs Global and the nonprofit. And so I stayed active on LinkedIn. I mean, every social media platform has its pros and cons. I think one of the big issues with social media at large is that they all tend to reward people for not doing great things. Like if I made a post on TikTok where I say something untrue but outrageous, it's going to go more viral than if I do like a detailed fact check post. And that's something that is challenging because you're relying on individual people not to be like that. And I have no interest in being like that, but my paycheck, like my ability to put food on the table is not reliant on me going viral. And I don't judge people who do what they need to do to put food on the table these days. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, but still, I mean, like because on LinkedIn, like at the time of the recording, like you've got what 300,000 plus followers, which is like everybody's dream, right? Even if you're not an influencer, it's like everybody's like, what's 3,000, 300,000?
The thing, right? Like LinkedIn is not really an influencer platform. So when I was writing on Medium, right? Like I don't even know, maybe 3,000 followers on Medium. I don't even know, right? I was a top writer on Medium back in the day. I had like a $10,000 month on Medium where I was paid for writing because my articles did well, went viral, whatever. It's not based on follower count. When I was active on TikTok, even TikTok pays very, very little for viral videos compared to like YouTube or elsewhere where I'm just not on. I need to be, but I'll get around to it. But even then, TikTok like was paying me thousands a month when I was going viral. LinkedIn, I have earned $0.00 in like
Yes.
13 years. I mean, it's not an influencer. So like when people are like don't like if you genuinely want to be an influencer, LinkedIn is not a good place. It's good if you want to be an influencer only for the purpose of like top of funnel getting clients for your business, or like you are targeting business leaders. The mark of a successful platform is like, are the only people making money on it, or like mark of an unsuccessful platform is, are the only people making money on it selling courses on how to succeed on the platform. Like, if you go on TikTok or Instagram, the vast majority of viral content isn't about how to do well on Instagram or how to do well on TikTok, but the vast majority of viral content on LinkedIn, and the only people who have really made a lot of money as influencers, they're just selling courses on how to do well on LinkedIn. Like that.
Yeah.
So
No, absolutely. I think that's something that people need to realize, because like I do see a lot of again younger people say, "Oh, I want to be an influencer on LinkedIn," and I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" Because LinkedIn doesn't pay you anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's useful. I mean, at least for me, the main reason I started on LinkedIn, because that's the only platform that's is not as bad as X or Twitter. Because I used to love to be on Twitter before Elon Musk bought it and turned it into whatever crap it is right now.
I was on Twitter too, and then I just deleted my account. So
yeah, it's horrendous. Which is sad. I mean, again, that goes back to the point. It's like you got these people that destroyed freedom of speech on Twitter, which was basically had good balance in terms of freedom of speech. It's crazy. But LinkedIn, it's useful. Sorry, carry on.
No. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I would say, because with LinkedIn, it's useful if you want to reach the professional network. Because for me, of course, because I talk a lot about AI and basically my AI journey was always B2B. I was never involved in the consumer market.
Yeah, it's great for B2B.
So it's fantastic for that, to basically to push that message. Because at the end of the day, if we want to achieve change, I need other companies to do what, the things that I recommend them to do. So that's why my following is exploding right now on LinkedIn, which is great. But of course, I want to have the same level of influence on TikTok, which I'm not active enough. We've got an account. We've got a couple of videos here, but
video presence. So you should do that, because you do videos. So many people who don't go on TikTok because they're really camera shy, and so it's hard for me to convince them to do it. But you do it anyway.
Yes. No, absolutely. Yeah, well, that's the thing. We're creating, like, we've created even a new YouTube channel, so we have clips, because obviously on TikTok you can't have long form, I think, on TikTok. So we're kind of figuring out, because like I said, I've only been doing this for 6 months. So we're kind of trying to figure out, okay, how do you do all the marketing stuff on TikTok and all these things? So we're working on that. So we're pushing as much as possible. But it's actually interesting, the point that you made about TikTok, that they are politically more friendly, as long as it's not anti-China, obviously, right? But they seem to be politically friendly compared to LinkedIn. Because LinkedIn, what I noticed, although I had some posts that went viral when I criticized Musk or Trump or whatever, but every time, for example, one of the areas that I talk a lot about is equality, right? Especially women's equality. It never goes viral on LinkedIn.
No, I mean, LinkedIn really hates women. There was a whole article about it lately, and basically some women got banned from LinkedIn, and it's happening to a lot of women, and now it's happening to a lot of white women. What frustrates me is that this has been a conversation within Black and Brown LinkedIn for a really long time, and it didn't get attention until, I feel like, now. There was an article the New York Times ran years ago, which was basically saying Black LinkedIn is thriving. Does LinkedIn have a problem with that? Because LinkedIn has been anti-Black for a really long time. And despite the fact that New York Times ran that article, the LinkedIn CEO still did not respond. There was a time when I was heavily squashed by LinkedIn, was one of the largest creators, especially in policy, but in general on the platform at the time. And they would not speak to me. A smaller creator who was a white man who had only like maybe 6,000, 7,000 followers. He got a meeting and then roped me in so I could also meet with them. They would lie straight out about what they were and were not squashing. They still do. That's why I A/B test posts, because I don't care, right? Right? Might as well use power if you have it. I don't know. But it is really bad. And I think I've heard there are many reasons for that. But LinkedIn's LinkedIn is small enough that their literal staff picks and chooses influencers who get ahead. They hate specific influencers. I've heard many allegations that they specifically dock influencers who've criticized the platform or who they don't like or the staff doesn't like for whatever reason. I've heard that LinkedIn staff has their own political viewpoints, which are quite conservative. They're specifically Zionist, whatever it is, and they are squashing views they disagree with. And LinkedIn is such a small platform, they can do that, right? On TikTok, honestly, they don't care about 90% of influencers. Even if you have 1 million followers on TikTok, it's not that big a deal. There's like 1 million people with millions of followers, right? It's just like TikTok's a much bigger platform. So they don't really interfere unless you're really, really big. And that, they also don't interfere to help you. And so there are people who have had like 900,000 followers on TikTok. I know somebody who just lost their account. Their account got banned and they didn't have any appeal because they don't know anyone at TikTok because TikTok's so big that even if you have 900,000 followers, they're just like to them, you're still small fry. So I don't know. I think
why were they banned even though they had such a large?
So that's the thing. TikTok is not very specific about why they ban people and when they ban them and why. So I think they did posts that for some reason triggered their like ban meter and then it just got blocked. I mean, I've had posts banned on TikTok for I've had posts on TikTok banned for nothing at all. Like they're just like, this isn't fact, and I'm like, here is the literal like article it's based on, and it's an AI, right? Like, or you never know why. Like I got a comment banned for like harassing somebody, even though I was like, this is a great post, just because they didn't like. I would said something like you're raising awareness of a horrible issue, but the word horrible isn't there. So I appealed the ban and it was still banned because like LinkedIn doesn't have TikTok doesn't have humans, right? Because it's so big. They're just like the AI is like, no, you said horrible, right? So yeah, someone got banned because they got too many strikes in their account, and that's the problem with TikTok. If anybody who wants to be an influencer long term, obviously build your own newsletter, own emails. But I also am like, don't be an influencer. Not as a career choice because then it's really hard. Like it's good to
it's not in the 2010s that was the thing. I think now an influencer doesn't really mean anything. That's why I hate when people say like I'm becoming an influencer on LinkedIn. I'm like, I'm not an influencer. I don't want to be an influencer. I'm a tech entrepreneur, but I share my story and I share ideas and that's not an influence. That's
I mean, it's sad because
conversations.
Influencer could have been amazing. Could have really meant people who are creating impact, who are influencing other people to start movements, to be more aware of.
That's not what it means, does it? Though.
No, it's not what it means. So I feel really bad because like we could have had a better world, you guys.
But that means you see, like on the positive side, because I had a conversation with Rachel Donald, who's a journalist, a young journalist, and she's an investigative journalist. She goes after corruption in the energy market and stuff like that. Very brave. But she actually made a point that actually that we need to stop this whole idea of being an influencer online because it's a meaningless thing now. But what you need to do is to get yourself out there and create impact. Like for example. What I'm doing here, I try to create impact, but I do talk to businesses. I do even talk to politicians. I'm building things. You've built multiple nonprofits. You're actually taking real world physical action, right?
Yeah.
You're not just talking about it. You're not just ranting about it, which is kind of what influencers tend to do.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I'm just wondering how easy is it now for younger people?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's really hard. This is the whole premise of YouVoice. This is why we're creating YouVoice as a competitor social media platform, is because I think current platforms don't reward impact at all. Like, I think that it's very, very hard right now. And more than being hard, it's thankless. And it is often harmful to your career to do things, which is insane. We should be rewarding good people. Very, very hard to start nonprofits, very hard to start movements, very hard to start companies that are doing good. Requires a lot of privilege, which a lot of people don't have. And I'm tired. I'm tired of outrage. I'm tired of ivory tower discussions. I'm tired of people doing nothing and just mouthing off on the latest issue. I'm tired of infighting. I am tired of, punishing people for one thing they do wrong instead of rewarding people who are doing a lot of things that are right. I'm tired of people not caring about the actual impact to real lives because they'd rather fly a flag of moral superiority online. This is not the way the real world works. And if all you do is continue to reward outrage instead of impact, then you are going to hurt real people in the real world. And I am not okay with that. So yeah, I mean, I think it has to change. That's the whole premise of sort of what we're trying to build, is changing it. And I think that short of like us or another company really disrupting the market, I'm not seeing a change at all, because people don't want to reward doing good. They want to reward sounding good.
Well, it's all about the memes, isn't it? That's basically what we're seeing. It's about the memes.
Yeah.
Like, this is what Elon Musk is like. His success is all a meme, which is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much, yeah. So, but he's like going to soon be worth $1 trillion. So, like.
Well, actually, I'm not sure that's going to happen anymore. I think Tesla is going down the shitter.
I mean, he's already rich enough, though. I mean, the man like gains and loses $1 to $2 billion a day. Like, it's wild.
No, it is wild. I think. I mean, I saw something funny. I can't remember which comedian. I think he said this, that he made a calculation, which I checked. I thought, okay, I gotta, with my brain, I had to check that. Like, people kind of throw these figures around, like, I want to be a millionaire, billionaire, blah blah blah. But he is like, but actually, being a billionaire is disgusting. Actually,
it is
because
disgusting. Yeah.
Well, I don't disagree, but but some people kind of think, but it's okay. But actually, okay, just to put it into perspective. If you have $1 million, right, and you spend $1,000 a day every single day, which is outrageous. What could you spend $1,000 on every single day? But let's say you do that every single day, including weekends, Saturday and Sunday. It will take you 2 years and about 7 or 8 months, like 7 point something months, right, to spend it all. Okay. Yeah. If you have $1 billion and you do exactly the same thing, it's 2,700 years.
Yeah. Also, you will never spend it all, because it earns more than that on interest every single day, because money makes money and it's not taxed, which it should be. Yeah. So
yeah. So it's
a billion with a B is genuinely disgusting. I have met people who have $1 billion with a B dollars, and in reality, like, people don't comprehend it because it is so out of touch. Like, people hate on the rich people they know, and it's like crabs in a bucket. Like, the rich people and they are not the rich people who are screwing over the world. Very rarely. I mean, maybe you are one of the few people who knows those people, but most people, like, how you have a lot of MAGA people hating on immigrants for taking their jobs, or they're like, well, why do they? I'm like, you are hating the wrong people. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, immigrants are not stealing your money, and that's not a thing. The people who are stealing your money or stealing the wealth in the long term are insanely wealthy, so wealthy that they live on a different planet. They might as well live on a different planet. Yeah. You never see them, you never interact with them. They have different airports, different planes, different lines to get there, different islands, different vacations, different rules. Like, Mark Zuckerberg.
No rules. No rules. They've got rules between them.
Exactly. Mark Zuckerberg walked into a national security meeting without clearance. I would be in prison if I did that.
Yeah.
Like, it just, those people are at a whole other level of, and people just throw around the word billion now, like, oh, I want to be a billionaire. No, you don't. That's basically the thing. You want to be a criminal. You want to be a war criminal. Like, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain lines you have to cross if you want to be a billionaire.
Yeah,
let's
exactly.
put it that way.
I mean, there's no way to be a billionaire without extractive wealth.
Yeah, but
and without choosing not to donate it, which is, I think, the key here. Like, you have to be psychopathic to watch the world hurt as much as it's hurting right now, have that much money and not
do anything about it.
A better place, yeah.
Yeah, well, not only that. I mean, the figures that we talked about, they actually taken advantage of the fact that the world is so screwed up to monetize more.
Yeah. And I mean, people talk about accidental billionaires, which I guess is possible if you're like that big in music or whatever business, and like the system is as it is. But then donate it. That doesn't justify the fact that you still have it now, right? Like, you could be like changing the world. You could be saving so many lives. There's millions of people dying right now because of a lack of access to things that we know how to fix and provide. And whether it's food, whether it's medical care, vaccinations, whatever, clean water. Like, you can fix all of that. Why are you not doing that? Like, just. If you don't do that, like, most of us do help that much. Most of us do give like $5, $10 when we can. To a billionaire, that's $5 or $10 is a lot of money. Like, the equivalent of that for them is millions and millions, and not staying a billionaire. And nobody needs that kind of money. Like, you do not need a helipad at your third home. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the weird thing is the same people who complain about the immigrants, they also say, oh, you shouldn't be taxing the rich. Like when they're complaining about,
Yeah.
the government wants to tax the rich. Oh, how dare you tax the rich? I'm like, why? Are you rich? Are you a billionaire? No, I'm not. So what are you complaining about? Why does that bother you? It's crazy.
No, it is. It's crazy. It's like these people identify more with billionaires than with the people around them just because they have a different skin color or country of origin, and that is wild to me. And the funny thing about, you were talking earlier about boomers and all, during their era of prosperity, there was like a 90% wealth tax compared to where it's at today. Like,
yes.
There used to be much, much higher wealth taxes and income taxes than there are today. Today, like, the upper class is just runaway wealthy, and those rules don't apply to them.
Well, that's Reaganism, isn't it? That's when it's all started under Reagan and Thatcher in the UK.
Exactly.
That's when they kind of decided to get rid of all of that.
Yeah.
And that taxes are bad.
Ayn Rand, I swear.
As an entrepreneur, I like to follow the news really, really closely, be it in politics, the environment, health, fitness, and of course AI, which is my field of work. But the problem with the news sector today, that staying up to date with events around the world can be really, really difficult because it's impossible to consult a single source for the full story. The narratives that shape public opinion often just reinforce media and corporate-backed vested interest, and of course they push for whatever public or political biases of their readers. Not to mention, of course, they push a lot of clickbait stories to just attract clicks rather than trying to inform you properly. And this is why I fell in love with Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that combines news from around the world in one place so you can compare coverage. For every news source, you can see if they have political bias, how reliable their reporting is, and who owns them. And they've got this amazing tool called the blind spot feed, which highlights news disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. I even see this with AI. For example, you'll see the left-leaning AI coverage tend to be kind of very doom and gloom. But then on the other side, of the right-leaning, AI is the savior of humanity and everything. I mean, it's quite ridiculous in both cases. So it's so important to have a tool like Blind Spot because it shows you the balance of this coverage so that you can actually see what the real story is, what's the crux of the story, which is super important, especially for somebody like me, because many customers around the world rely on me and my team to make sure that we inform them about AI and technology as accurately as we possibly can. But even for me personally, as somebody that likes to follow all the other stories, I want to make sure that my cognitive bias is in check. So check out this tool, it's absolutely phenomenal. You can subscribe through my link at ceoretort.com/ground news, one word, or scan the QR code that you can see on the screen right now if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, and you'll get 40% of their Vantage plan. It's the one that I use to get unlimited access to every single feature and tool that they have, and it works out less than $5 a month. It's basically like a cup of coffee a month. And your subscription not only helps our channel and our podcast, but it also supports Ground News as it makes the media landscape more transparent. They're not reliant on VCs, kind of like my company. They are absolutely 100% funded by their membership. So this is something that I really, really love about them as well. It's their level of independence. And I think we should all support companies like that to make sure that we stay informed as accurately as we possibly can. So check out the link at ceoretort.com/ground news, one word, or scan the QR code that you can see on the screen right now if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, and you'll get 40% of their Vantage plan. And tell me what you think. Do you like it? Is it working for you? I would love to get your feedback. So thank you, Ground News, for supporting this video. The other thing I always like to tell people as well, like when it comes to taxation, you need to think about tax that it's an investment into your own country. Because the one thing I find funny, because again, the anti-tax brigades, when they go on about, oh, look at how China is working. Yeah, it's a communist state, people, right?
Yeah.
Or was it Tucker Carlson that when he went to Moscow, obviously I was in Moscow many times, and they've got the most amazing underground in the world. It's like a museum. It's beautiful, right?
Uh-huh.
And he was like, oh, look at, in Moscow, they've got all these amazing blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you idiot. Do you realize it was built under Stalin, right? Do you know that North Korea has the same sort of thing in there? And he's like, oh, but New York has so bad. Yeah, because it's privatized. So if you want the same sort of thing that you have like they have in Moscow, you want that in New York, then you need to basically tell the government, hey, take the entire transportation system public, and the government should spend whatever billions that Russia spend or whatever. I don't know what they spent into that. right? If you want chandeliers in your underground, yeah, let the government take over, aka communism. But people don't understand this. I'm like, back to education, right? It's like,
Yeah, no,
we need
100%.
to educate people.
People are so scared of socialism, let alone communism, or democratic socialism, which is insane. And people forget that capitalism is not the state of nature. Like, if you want to preserve a free market and you want what you think of as capitalism in your head, you need a lot of government regulation and socialism to keep that running. Otherwise, you get natural monopolies and neo-fascism. Like, I don't know, like, again, people don't take basic economics, they don't take basic history, they keep making the same mistakes over and over again every years, except this time they have longer lasting consequences for the planet, for the future of the planet, post-industrialization, now especially post-AI. So that's what worries me, is that we're going to break things in a way we can never fix them.
And that's a reminder again to the people that capitalism, when it started, it was actually to lift poor people.
Yeah, it was
out of
to
poverty.
lift people out of poverty, which
if
you maintain,
which is not what we're happening right now.
Because to maintain a free market system, you need socialism at the government level, not capitalism. To maintain capitalism, you need a very strong pro-social government system, because what you think of as capitalism is small businesses succeeding and competing. And to have that, you need a pretty socialist government.
Yeah. And that goes back to the point I made about that things are breaking up so badly in the US. And again, yeah, racists exist all the time, but the fact that they've got such a powerful presence now and the powerful voice, powerful representation all the way up in the at the government level, and people who may have, although I don't believe that somebody could be accidentally bigoted, because at the end of the day, if you look down on people purely because of their skin color, I have a problem with that. I have no sympathy, right? But I would accept that maybe you are not clever enough to realize that actually that does impact your life, including your family, perhaps. And maybe that could be a wake-up call for change. And I'm just wondering, because we've seen in New York, the mayoral election, which was kind of crazy. The Zohran, he's like a proper socialist. He's even more left than Sanders, I think, right? Or something like that. And New Yorkers basically went for him, including, I mean, I don't know if it's true. You can tell me if that's true, but I read somewhere that even Trump supporters voted for him, apparently.
I do think there's like a little bit of a class awakening happening. We saw that in bipartisan support for pardoning Luigi Mangione, also in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
well, that was horrible. That's murder. We cannot support that. I mean, that's like, we don't want to go down that road.
when you if Luigi Mangione did it, yes, right? Like 100%.
Yeah, of course.
I think that when you saw a lot of bipartisan, there were a lot of MAGA people who were like,
yes,
oh, what Luigi did was great, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that if it were Luigi, like him doing that is going to fix things, right? That's a different issue. But at the end of the day,
that people from all sides of the political divide actually were happy with him.
Partisan issues, but it was the first time in my life I've seen it split on class. So you have rich Democrats and Republicans of both sides condemning the murder and saying it's horrible, and just talking about the fact Brian Thompson's a family man, he's a family, wife, kids, dog, etc. And you have people who are disempowered on both sides of the aisle, supporting or at least condemning Brian Thompson and being like, he's also murdered, whatever it is, right? That was the first time I'd seen an issue split on class. I was so used to and have been so used to in the past seeing issues split on partisan lines or whatever it is, not on wealth lines or race lines or whatever. The other thing that I think is the case, so I think that did feed into Zohran Mamdani's win, is just that there is sort of a class awakening even among right-wing folks who want to support people who care about the common man or whatever. The other thing is, I think it's a bit overblown. I don't think that he's as left as people want to think he is. But he represents.
Really? Okay.
He represents immigrants, and I think compared to European politicians, he's not that left wing. He's left wing for America, I guess, right? But he's not actually super, what I would think of as super far left, or very, very progressive. He just portrays himself that way in sort of marketing. I'm hoping he is, and I think time will tell. But end of the day, some of the things that I wish him success, every success, and I definitely hope he wins. I just heard that Andrew Cuomo is going to do a third party challenge, saying what a sore loser.
Yeah, that was predicted. Yeah. And the Democrats are supporting him, the idiots.
I mean, I think he's a great choice. I hope that he does what he says he's going to do and all that. But I also think that a lot of it is marketing so far, and I'm cautiously optimistic. I would say that he will do the things he says he's going to do, or help make New York City a better place. Because right now, New York City is like a police state, and I wish him every luck with fixing that for sure.
But do you think that could be replicated in other states throughout America?
No, because of gerrymandering. I don't think it's going to hit our Congress anytime soon, because it's so corrupt. Elections have become so corrupt in America. We don't really have one person, one vote. We don't really have free and fair elections. We have something like it. We have kind of a democracy that's functioning-ish, but I think that if there were widespread socialist uprising, for lack of a better, a lot of people started voting for very pro-social candidates and stuff, I unfortunately think that there would be a lot of money, time, effort, and corruption going into squashing it. So we'll see. I want to believe we still have the sort of free and fair democracy where if the people genuinely want to change, we could elect it in. But I'm not that optimistic anymore.
Well, I don't know. I try to be optimistic, because for me, I'm thinking when we had fascism in Europe, obviously in the 1930s, what happened throughout Europe is that even though, we do have far-right problems, etc., but if you look at the overall picture of Europe, the Goldilocks of politics, it's way further to the left than say in America.
There was a massive war where we all killed a bunch of Nazis to get there. That's the thing though, right? In the US, the neo-Nazis, they're still in power, and I don't think there's going to be a massive war to get them out. And see, somebody tweeted this and it went viral in our Blue Sky, I'm not sure where, and I can't remember who said it, but basically she was saying that the reason we got here is because we didn't punish the Confederacy hard enough. And I actually think that's true. That's a large part of modern America, is the Confederacy never really had the consequences of what went down with slavery and with losing the war. And they didn't really get punished. And in fact, Reconstruction era, there was still so much rampant. They were trying to continue slavery. There was so much rampant anti-blackness. They were trying to do all these anti-black things. Continues to this day, legacy of that. So we didn't do that. I feel like in Europe there was this huge effort, such as there was, and of course there are still issues, like you said, there's still some fascism, but there's this huge effort to punish the Nazis, to have laws in place that prevent neo-Nazism, that punish people for being Nazis to this day. If you are in Germany and you do a Nazi salute, you're going to get arrested. There's active fighting against that, and it's still been hard, and there's still been a rise in fascism. In the US, we haven't had that sort of pushback.
But I'm wondering, could that now start to happen? Because that's what I'm saying. Could the fact that because you have fascism in America right now, and I find some people kind of feel a bit uncomfortable. And I'm like, look, let's go to spade a spade now. Come on, what do you want them to do? Do you want them to start murdering people the way Hitler murdered the Jews? What does it take for you to start realizing that what you have in America is fascism?
I mean, there are already concentration camps. I mean,
exactly.
To define it is that. I mean, they're literally concentration of people, many of whom are not getting access to medical care. In fact, they're being kept in, cells and all that, right? Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that the American people I know today and the culture I know of today and the city education country, whatever that I've seen today, is going to stand up and fight like that.
Seriously, really, even now, even after the disaster staring them in the face.
Trying to figure out a way to help themselves and to protect themselves. I tried really, really hard to try and fix things. And I just think that, I don't know, I also am not the type of person who wants things to get so bad that it spurs people into action, because I'm really worried that in the interim, we are losing incredible people's lives. We are irreparably hurting so many people, animals, the environment, everything. And so we're never going to get those lives back or that time back. And then second, because when you brainwash a country and when you have a 60-year campaign of not educating people and rewarding ignorance, you get a lot of neo-Nazis or people who will look the other way. So I don't think there's any guarantee the country will fight back. And if you actually do look at the 1930s in Europe, it took a lot of other countries stepping in to get rid of Nazis and to win the war, Germans did not effectively fight back. There were a lot of quote unquote normal people who were just smiling average teens, right? This is also something that went viral recently, right? And they're like, everyone wants to believe that they're not a Nazi. In reality, like these were normal people, quote unquote, then became literal Nazis. Now you're seeing that in America. Like you're just like, oh, well, that's just my neighbor, my sister, brother, whatever. Like people just go along with things, like Stanford prison experiment, whatever, right? Like people just, they slowly get used to it. They get used to dehumanizing people. Now suddenly it's okay. There are so many people who have literally watched kids starve to death or get bombed on camera who justify it, because they're so far gone. Like normal people otherwise, right? So like, I'm not convinced that Americans will fight back, because we have had like a lot of education about basically not doing that and accepting it.
So does that mean we're going to see a third term of Donald Trump?
I don't think so, because he's old. He's going to die. There's no way he's going to live long enough for a third term. At a minimum, to cling on to it. I don't think he's going to live that long.
But he's the luckiest motherfucker in history, man. I mean, come on, seriously.
Seriously. He's alive right now.
I mean, how did that? I mean, he got away with everything.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, if either of us did like one of the things that he's done, right, we would have been in jail by now. The guy became president twice.
Yeah,
he's
I know.
getting away with everything. So
I know. Let me put it this way: I wouldn't be surprised if he. I would no longer be surprised if he both runs for a third term and two, gets an exemption from the Supreme Court saying that the Constitution meant to prevent against 2 consecutive terms instead of 2 terms in general. And the Supreme Court goes along with that, saying either that's a political question or sure, that's a reasonable reading of the Constitution. And he gets reelected. I wouldn't be surprised at this point, which is already bad enough. Because that's crazy. That's crazy. But, you know, his supporters are crazy. So I don't know, man. I hope not. I don't think so, because I genuinely think he's too sick and too unwell and, you know, too close to death to run again. But who knows?
Would MAGA end with if because I've seen a lot of analysts believe that really MAGA is Donald Trump. So it's like, you know, if Vance takes over, that's not going to be the MAGA. The MAGA movement not would care at all about him. It's like, it's MAGA is Trump, Trump is MAGA. Like if he dies, MAGA dies, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. I don't think so. Here's why. So there have been cults that have been started before, and I feel really bad if I give any examples. I feel like people of that specific cult or religion are going to be like, how dare you? So let me forget any examples, okay? There have been cults of leaders who've done really, really bad things, okay? And some of them died out and everyone agrees they're bad cults. Some of them turned into long-lasting religions or fringe parts of a larger religion or whatever, right? And then to this day, some people believe things that are very harmful and then impact the way that they vote or their politics or policies or whatever, even though their leader is no longer around. There's somebody else who like took that place, or maybe it just becomes like people in the community who step up, whatever, right? And it's true in like political movements, religions, whatever. I would have thought that maybe 4 years ago, 6 years ago, but Project 2025 was not written by Donald Trump. That was written by a lot of other Republican scholars who are using Trump to get their religious right-wing Christian America that they want. And,
Project 2025.
Yeah, Project 2025. Yep. And I think that they are like marching along that very successfully. So the people who architected that, masterminded that, I'm sure that they can find a way to keep that kind of power. People said that the far right was dead after the Tea Party lost, and after Mitt Romney lost, the Republican Party basically said we can't be so racist and sexist anymore. We need to run candidates who are more aware of what's going on, because clearly that was the problem with Mitt Romney. He was racist and sexist. Mm-hmm. Clearly that was not the problem. It was that he wasn't racist and sexist enough, apparently. Right? And they ran this crazy, like, rapist, racist, sexist candidate and won. And so I think that, like, it's very naive to assume a way like that Trump's threat, like, will only last the length of Trump's life. I hope so. I hope that, like, that, I think it's a possibility, but I think we have to prepare. We have to assume the worst and prepare for the possibility that is not the case. So how do we actually have a re-education campaign? How do we be more anti-racist? How do we make changes to the voting system, criminal justice reform, whatever, to like make life better? Because we need to assume that these people are going to be around for a really long time. In fact, I would argue that basically they've been around since the dawn of America. They became the Confederacy. The Confederacy was supposed to have lost, but clearly they didn't. They were lingering all along. They finally flew the Confederacy from the White House hundreds of years after they lost. So I would not count this movement out at all.
Because I'm trying. It's like we're approaching the end of the conversation. I always try to kind of end it with something positive, but
Things, but not about the future of the MAGA movement.
I mean, I think humans are always going to be stupid. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just our nature. We are very, very good at creating the problems that we solved in the past and then bringing them back so that we can come up with new solutions.
Very cyclical.
It's very cyclical. So we're not very clever creatures in terms of stopping history repeating itself. So I think that's inevitable.
I'll totally give you something positive. Like, because I'm actually a generally positive person. I just want to be a realist about like where we're at in society today, because I don't want people to get complacent. 2025 is not the time for people to be complacent. But what I will say is a lot of people talk about how things were better in the past. True on the right, left, everywhere, right? Especially on the right, boomers and all. But in reality, like, I am a brown woman today, right? I live in a major metropolitan city. I have access to a smartphone. My husband said this, and it's always stuck with me, right? Like, if you were a king in the 1800s and you wanted to listen to Mozart, you had to organize an entire event. You had to pay for musicians to come in. You would get to listen to it once, and then maybe again, maybe once or twice in your life. If you were a king, and now everybody can just open their phone and play whatever they want, right? And play the Turkish March on your phone. You can get innovations on it. Now people have done a hip hop version, and like, there is so much ability with modern tech to be connected, to have functioning plumbing, to cure diseases that were previously incurable. Even a generation ago, people don't die of AIDS anymore. AIDS used to devastate people in like living memory, obviously living memory, and like, it still devastates parts of the world because we aren't like equitable yet. But so many people don't die of it anymore. Diabetes, like so many things. I mentioned I'm a brown woman, right? I'm openly queer. Like, these are things that would have been completely impossible for me to do in previous generations, for me to be a CEO of a company. In fact, it was only the 1980s when women across America could like open their own bank account, get their own credit card, whatever. My own aunt was married to her cousin when she was 15 years old. And here I am today. I'm not expected to have kids. I was not expected to get married. I got a full education, got to go to law school, like, just one generation ago. So I think that like there's so much to be grateful for and positive about in terms of the general trajectory of the world. And this is like, for me, the last big fight towards equality and social justice. And at this point, the world can go really right or really wrong. AI doesn't destroy us all. The modern tech that we have and AI could make a world which is basically a functional utopia, right? We have the ability to create a world where people do not have to work as day laborers in the sun anymore or get hurt. We have the ability to make robotics, which by the way is completely distinct from AI, different conversation, but some people confuse the two. But we have the ability to make a world where people do not have to get hurt, where we can all have enough food, enough water, enough shelter, enough clothing without hurting people, animals. We have the ability to like genuinely live a really good life. I really want to get there. And I really feel like now is the time to fight for it, because if we lose really, really badly, really, really badly. No more world. Like, there are plenty of scenarios where there's no more life on Earth in the next 30 years, but there are also scenarios where everything is really perfect and people are happy and we don't have war and we have freedom everywhere, and like, we don't have to work really hard for a living, and wealth is like distributed evenly and everyone has the ability to pursue their hobbies and free time because nobody needs to struggle anymore to put food on the table. Because we don't. There's enough food in the world. We're producing enough food in the world that nobody needs to starve, which is insane. That isn't the case for most of human history, right? Most of human history was brutal. So, that's my positive view for a future world. That's why I'm so insistent everybody fight for it now. I don't care whether my entire generation, I'm Gen Z, I don't care whether my entire generation has to sacrifice our lives to make a better world. All I want to know is that when I die, when our generation is gone, that it's fixed now. Then I will die happy. Like, that's my goal in life, is like, just, we could get this right. So let's get this right. There you go. There's my positive ending.
No, I don't disagree at all. In fact, I did a whole episode about this in terms of why dumb politics has destroyed any sort of AI utopia, because we have got the possibility. I say this all the time. We've got the technology, we've got the science. I speak as a biomedical scientist. We've got the science, the knowledge, the tech to literally make this world a much better world than what it is today.
Thank you. Yes.
And the thing that I'm angry about is the fact that when I remember, I'm approaching 50, so it's like half a century. So it's like, sounds scary. So I kind of look at the world that I can remember when I was young, and I look at the world today, it's not actually a better world. It's not a better world. So again, technologically, like you said, a lot of things have changed, right? In terms of, women's rights and stuff. However, like, look at us today, 2025. Look at everything that we talked about.
Yeah. And
There's
people
more
aren't
racism.
happy, right? People are not able
aren't
to
happy.
enjoy what we have. Yeah.
Exactly. There's more poverty, actually, right?
Yeah.
There's more inequality. The environment is in its worst position ever, right?
Yeah.
So we're seeing, again, because of the anti-vaxxer movement, there's an anti-vaxxer running the health system in America.
Slaughterhouses, number of species going extinct. Like,
it's
just, there's so much pain and suffering that's avoidable.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, like, to me, in my fairly sort of, half a century now of life, it's like, to me, it feels that the world hasn't actually changed at all. If anything, it changed to the worse, despite the fact all of the other progress that we've achieved in so many other areas that basically we could have easily prevented all the problems that we're seeing today. So I think,
in Iran, right? Like I know, like I grew up in a community with there were a lot of Iranian Americans around. I knew a lot of Iranian Americans, college, law school, whatever. Right? It's wild how things got so much worse. And they had been, one of the essays one of my friends wrote in law school was basically about how Americans think that the arc towards justice, this was in the wake, like before Trump got elected the first time, Americans think that things are only going to get better because they haven't experienced, and they don't learn about other countries, and they haven't experienced things get worse. And like, because I'm from Iran, I know that we had more women's rights, we had more justice, we had a free society that then we lost. And it is possible for you to lose it and then for it to suck for a really long time, and for people to like lose that freedom and be suffering more and economically suffering, and like people are getting killed and there's violence and all this state sanctioned violence, and people don't realize that. And I feel like it took until maybe this year for people to start realizing that in America, we're like, no, things can get worse. And yeah, because like what you were saying before about learning from history, which, well, we have a chance to get things right. So
exactly. No, we do have a chance. I mean, that's the thing. Knowledge is power for a reason. I mean, like, and asking questions, going back to that, like you're not going to gain knowledge if you don't ask questions. So you have to have the ability and the freedom and the bravery to ask questions. And this is why I actually made a post about that on LinkedIn today, like when we're recording this, that I was talking about why I'm actually thankful that I'm neurodivergent. And I'm thankful for having a brain that sometimes has its own mind, is the fact that it forces me to wonder and ask questions, no matter how crazy it might sound, no matter how inappropriate it might seem. But you know what? Asking all these questions allowed me to be where I am today. And I'm just simply telling people, I told people today, look, if you're neurodivergent, don't be ashamed. But even if you're not neurodivergent, ask questions. Because at the end of the day, if somebody is telling you not to ask, or if somebody's telling you you don't need to know that, you need to start wondering why. Why do they not want you to know? Because knowledge is power. It's simple as that. And I think, maybe that's my naive way of saying, but you actually alluded to that point. I said maybe one of the simplest solutions, even though it's simple, it sounds simple, but one of the, I would say, at least to create a strong foundation, if you want the world to be better, maybe it's stop being racist. Maybe if we start looking at each other that we're all the same, right? The fact that, man, woman, whatever, black, white, brown, green, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Because if you look at all of the divisions that we see in the divisive campaigns, it's all about that. It's about discriminating. It's all about the me versus the other. Well, maybe there isn't a me and the other. We're all the same. We're all, together, right? So perhaps that, the people in power, how do they become powerful? Divide and conquer. So maybe if we don't allow them to divide people, to divide us, and, maybe let's start by not being racist.
I know, it would be really nice. I feel like racism is definitely a cause of so many issues. And just when you think about how many incredibly amazing artists, scientists, etc., didn't get anywhere because they were black or they were brown or they were women, even like
gay, like Alan Turing. For example, we talked about AI. So it's discrimination. Maybe racism is just one, but maybe stop discrimination. Like stop discriminating against people for whatever reason, because there is no reason to discriminate. I mean, perhaps this
It's
is why
also so dumb.
DEI.
Like sometimes I think about like how, like because there's so much hatred of Obama, right? Just because so many people were just hated Obama because of his race and like was so racist. Donald Trump was a big one for the conspiracy and stuff. And I just like it's so dumb, you know. He like did all the like he has issues, political issues you agree with or disagree with, right? These things that everybody disagrees with something, right? Like I think Mamdani actually said it best. He was on Stephen Colbert, I think, and he said like, if you agree with 9 out of 13 issues or whatever, vote for me. If you agree with 13 out of 13 issues, you need to like go to a mental health hospital, right? Like you shouldn't like.
That's a good one,
right? Like so, I think that's really important to like. You know, you don't have to agree with somebody 100%, but there was so much vitriol targeted towards Obama just because he was black. And now a lot of people, even people who didn't support him at the time, are now like, oh, things were so much better back then. And like, he made us look good overseas. And like, he had that presence, that presidential presence, whatever. And I see a lot of those people, because I mean, I'm old enough to remember all that, right? I don't see a lot of those people take accountability for their racism in the past or for how race played a role in that. And so they don't then check it again in the future when it's happening now, when they like say things that are kind of racist against like Jasmine Crockett or Stacey Abrams or whoever, right? They don't realize because they never like understood what was going on before, I guess, or never like accepted it. And I thought I always tell people it's like it's not okay to be racist, but it's even worse to like not own up if you are and then work on it. Like you know, it's better to be better over time.
Like accept that you fucked up, right? It's like
like just like I don't anyway, but yeah. But you know what? Maybe we'll fix the world. So there you go. I should probably let you go, but it's been
no, it's fine.
It's nearing midnight. Actually, you're in the UK too. You mentioned.
No, I just realized that because you said you're in UK. I thought you were in New York.
No, doing a podcast. Where are you, by the way? And I thought this is. I thought you were in America, so I was like, okay, this time is. For you.
Oh no! That's
time for you.
No, America is. I was actually advised to stay away because obviously, when I'm having conversations like that, you know, the last thing I need is
with your last name as well. Like, no, you're gonna get pulled up. People are gonna just go racist. You're gonna get hurt. Don't go to America. But
absolutely, yeah.
Or just because of the time you suggest, it's nearing midnight our time. What are we doing?
Yeah. Well, you know, entrepreneurs, right? Well, who cares?
Where are you, by the way? In the UK.
I live in the countryside, Leicestershire. That's
amazing. That's lovely.
Yeah. So, but all my companies are in London, so I gotta go to London once in a while.
There you go. Well, let me know when you're in London. I'm out in the. I consider myself in the countryside because I'm in northwest London, which might as well be the countryside. I'm gonna move.
Where in Chiswick? Around Chiswick area.
I'm in Pinner. No, I'm in London proper. It's just that like I'm not on a tube line, so I feel very out of things. I'm going to probably move to like Stanmore at the farthest, or like or maybe closer into the city. I feel too far from zone 1, so I complain. I've turned into a Londoner, so I just complain if I'm not in zone 1, I guess. But
yeah, I decided to move far enough. So basically, like where I live, there's a train station that would take me to London within an hour. I would be in St. Pancras, but by driving. Yeah, if I were to drive, it takes almost 3 hours. So it's far enough. It's far enough for me to escape big time.
Yeah, there you go. I love London. Like my favorite city in the whole world. So
London is great. It has its issues as well. And again, the issues started by the previous government, especially under Boris Johnson.
So I visited London in 2010 or. Wouldn't have been 2010, would have been 2015, probably a decade ago, 2015. And I have to tell you that, like, I know people complain so much about politicians here, but I genuinely think what Sadiq Khan has done to the city is incredible. I would not have been able to live here in 2015. And a lot of the reason that I love the city now are literally changes he implemented and, like, genuinely made the city better and, like, improved things. Like, you could also celebrate his wins. Like, I don't know. I think he's actually a pretty good mayor.
Well, actually, you know, because people blame him as well for the rise of crime in London, but actually, that's not his fault. That's the fault of the governments.
Yeah,
the British, the David Cameron government.
Yeah. 2 things he's done. Not only did he like spend more money on policing and like think about how to change policing so that he was going after things like knife crime and like phone crime, like theft and things like that, but he also spent money on like anti-racist training and like better procedures for the police and like more mental health support in the communities and like building more estates. So like he was trying to like fix the roots of crime as well. I don't know. I think people complain a lot. His job is very hard and I think he's done a pretty good job.
I mean, I'll be direct. They're complaining because he's Muslim and he's brown.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Let's call a spade, shall we? Come on.
Trump knighted him. Like, so much of the like criticism was like, why are people like him being knighted? I'm like, really? Like, he's done such a good job. Like, I mean, and being a mayor of a big like international city is a very difficult and like.
And he was elected. I think it's important for people to remember that he was elected.
Exactly.
Yeah, 3 times.
Yeah, 3 times. And I feel like, and I feel like I can't name a better mayor. Like, yeah, nobody's perfect, but like I've like looked into city politics for various reasons and city planning over the years, and he's like what I would think of as an exemplar of a decent mayor. So like, not perfect, but decent.
No, it's good, but I said because the issues when I see, especially people on the right, the issues that they complain about, it literally has nothing to do with him. It's to do with the government that they supported, because the government introduced austerity, and it's the austerity that brought crime in the streets. I know this because I talk a lot about this on the podcast. Like, I used to run a social enterprise in my home city, Leicester, right? Yeah. There's the reason why I live in Leicestershire in the county. Yeah. I used to run a social enterprise where we use martial arts to get kids off the streets.
That's amazing.
And there are loads of centers like that in London as well.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of partnerships and stuff. And basically, when the David Cameron government came in and they introduced austerity, they basically shut down all of these things. And we lost all of the funds, and there were even massive, like huge centers in London, all shut down. They shut down libraries. They shut down community centers.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm like,
no. And then the best part is now, right, that Labour has been in power for all of what, 9 months, whatever, a year now.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a year now because I don't know. I was here last year during the elections. My dog's name is Rishi, so it was a very difficult time.
Why?
15 years old. Common name. It's a common Indian name.
I know. It's just a shame, isn't it?
I know, it's such a shame. So anyway, it's been about a year, okay, that Labour's been in power. And don't get me wrong, I disagree with a lot of things Keir Starmer's done, but you have all these Tories complaining. You have the BBC putting reform on every other night. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And they're like, oh my gosh, everything's falling apart. And why isn't this happening, that happening? You were there for 14 years, mate. Like, the reason that this is because you were there for 14 years. Give them a bit of a time to figure out what they want to do. I'm not loving like the transphobia and other things, anti-immigrant sentiment or all anti-free speech, whatever is going on. It's like, I'm not loving it, but like, still, like, the Tories weren't better. Excuse me. Like, who are you to complain?
They really effed it up. They brought Brexit as well. They brought Liz Truss. They've done basically everything that is bad in here. And this is not me being political. I'm not saying that Labour is perfect. I mean, Labour brought us the Iraq War, right, back in the day. So we're not gonna. If we start calling out, I'll call out everybody. People know me that I call out everybody. Yeah. But what's happening right now in terms of this stuff, that literally every single thing that they're complaining about, there were these small boats, Brexit, right? There's a lot of criminals amongst young people in the streets. Yeah, austerity. There's not enough library, community centers, austerity. I mean, no. Give me anything and it will go back.
Austerity at the end of the day too. It's like, there were things you could have cut if you wanted to, but anyway. But yeah, I mean, I tell people, like, some of the people I talk to these days in the UK, I'm like, do you know who you sound like? Like, you guys like make so much fun of Trump, and like, you know what happens when you promote neo-fascism, and here you are giving reform the best win it's ever had. Like, what is wrong with you? Do you know who you sound like? And all the anti-immigrant sentiment too. I'm like, I understand there are issues you want to address, that you feel whatever, like there are some issues that you want to address, but the way people are talking, it's not about the issues, it's about the people. And like, these are bad people who are here. These are the brown people or bad people or whatever. And it just like,
well, racism again.
Yeah, like, just, that's, you gotta, I do not, this country better not go right wing now that I moved here. I moved here to get out of that. I swear. And I can't vote here yet. I won't be able to until I'm a citizen. So everybody who can vote, better keep it.
Yeah, well, I am kind of as a plan B, because I thought, you know what, like, I'll give it a chance, of course, with Labour and stuff like that. But I'm worried that they're not moving quickly enough. I know it's not easy, but people, unfortunately, it's not their fault. But it's like, if people already starting to think about reform as a solution, that really worries me a lot.
That terrifies me, because I know what happens when you go down that path.
Exactly. So that's why I'm actually building bridges in Europe. Like, I'm setting up in Finland, for example. Like Finland's a country I'm kind of,
Really
you know,
nice.
very egalitarian. They're very
Yeah.
much into ethics and stuff. So I'm actually doing a whole series like with this
Yeah.
podcast. Like I want to see what it's like in there. Why is it the happiest? I mean, obviously they have issues. Every country has issues, right?
Yeah.
But generally, whatever they're doing in there, they seem to have figured it out.
No,
And it seems to work.
I think a part of it in Finland as well, like you said, the ethics, and then also like there's general trust in government. So like they mostly don't, like they do think their government is taking care of things and doing a decent job. So there isn't as much of this capital P political environment there. Yeah, I don't know. I do like Finland. One of my best friends lives in Finland. Her family's there, and like I visit frequently. So I mean, I've been to Finland a lot, and like I really like it. And my dad did a lot of work with a Finnish company growing up as well. So.
Oh, cool. Okay. So I've never been to Finland. That's my first visit.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
I know, yeah.
Especially around like Christmas time, the holidays, it snows for Christmas, of course. And the entire country is just like Christmas.
Maybe you should move there as well, huh?
It's really cold. I am a sun person. It is really cold. So the UK is like the furthest north that I can get. I get pretty bad seasonal depression actually. So like the lack of sun in the winter. I'm not like January through March. I'm already planning on going to Portugal at a minimum. I can't stay here. It's so bad. Last year I was here in March and like it was cold through July and we had like 3 days of sun. Like this year's been nice.
Yeah. No, this year it's not. Well, for like the heat is a bit weird. It's not normal. It's not normal heat.
I know, but I prefer it to the cold.
I prefer. Yeah, me too. Me too.
I'm too brown for that. So Indian, whatever it is, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm mixed because I'm half Russian, but my Russian genes are very dormant when it comes to cold. I can't handle cold.
The Russian side of you must be fine with it, but. Not the Middle East.
My wife is half. Well, she's mixed as well, but she's got Scottish. I mean, she's Jamaican, but she's got a strong Scottish blood. But she's dormant when it comes to heat. So she's kind of like me, but the opposite. She loves cold.
She loves cold. Oh, okay.
Yeah. She hates the heat.
You love cold. I just don't get like how. Why do you like the cold?
But not only that, she's Jamaican and she likes the cold.
I know that's crazy.
I'm like, girl, what's wrong with you?
Generally, the Caribbean environment's probably like my ideal temperature. So, like, it's hard for me being in cold, but it's beautiful in London around winter, Christmas time, and all too. But Finland,
and I love London in the winter. London's lovely in the winter.
Finland is something else. You got to go to Finland. You got to go in the summer. You got to go in the winter because they're both different and beautiful. Yeah,
well, I'm going in the summer because I'm part of this 90-day program thing that that I got into. So that's why I'm basically so I'm taking this as an opportunity to start building bridges, and of course, like I did mention this, like I'm building a non-profit as well. I want that non-profit to be in Finland, like as part of the EU. So
that's amazing. A quality of food, by the way, I think in Finland is the best in the world. Like the best I've had.
Really?
Quality of wise is in Finland. So compared to the US, anything in Europe is gold because the US is
that's a given.
yeah. But like Finland is like peak. Like I actually if you have dairy, like drinking milk in Finland, it's like culture there to drink it with dinner and whatever. The milk is so pure, good. Like you drink in any other country, like this is clearly horrible. There's hormones in it, whatever. It's like not, or maybe like great, but like their dairy is really great. Their food quality, their vegetables is really great. I don't eat meat, but I'm sure they have better standards for that too. But
that's interesting.
Like it just. Yeah, and they do take care of their people largely, I think. And I have heard there's racism in Finland because, like, my friend has some of her family are minorities as well. But it seems like even then it's like better. Like, yes, people say things sometimes, and I guess it's there everywhere. But there's a lot more like intolerance for intolerance, which is nice.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it stays like that. Let's hope they.
No, okay, they hate Russians right now. Right now they hate Russians.
I'm mixed. Well, actually, like my family is the most controversial family because actually I've got Ukrainian blood as well. So I've got Ukrainian.
Just say that part. Just say that part.
I'm Ukrainian. I'm a Ukrainian descendant.
There you go. Because right now, obviously, they have like all the military at the border, and like they have mandatory military civilian like service. So like all the men do serve because they are worried about Russian invasion. So
and it's sad because interestingly, because I looked at the pictures of Helsinki, and it looks very much like St. Petersburg in Russia. It
Oh,
looks
really?
exactly the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a similar building. So obviously there's a lot of influence. But again, we have people, we have
Throughout
idiots.
all the politics. Yeah, there's
Yeah, we have idiots destroying the world again as usual. So
yeah, no, I'm actually really saddened because when I was young, I thought by now we would be able to easily visit Russia, Iran, China. It would be better. Instead, it's worse, and now I can't even travel to countries I did growing up because it's even more siloed. So
that's what I'm saying. That goes back to the point, like the world is getting worse. It's not better. It's crazy.
I genuinely can't go to countries I went to growing up now, which is crazy.
Yeah, same. I can't go to Russia. I wouldn't go to Russia.
Yeah, I mean, Russia, China, obviously Iran, the Middle East, obviously Israel, Palestine, I can't go to Egypt or Turkey. Being openly queer, I wouldn't go to the UAE or anywhere else there either. Like, they're just and it's weird to say it used to be better, but it used to be better. Right? Like, it used to be better. But yeah, I mean, even in India now, I see what's happening with Islamophobia and I don't know, just around the world, people have gone so, I don't know what the right word is, jingoistic, nativistic.
I think I know what you mean. I don't know what the word is. Well, fucked up, I guess.
People you were mixed race. I'm in a mixed race marriage, just growing up in an immigrant community, with all my friends. I want a place where all my friends can be safe, and there's nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So.
That's, I mean, oh dear. I don't know. I suppose.
Wow.
Well, like I said, let's going back to your solution or something. To remind people that we can, everything might seem bad, everything might seem to be very negative, but actually we have got the ability, the tools, the knowledge to make it, to change and to change fast. We can change fast. We just have to have the will.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's my hope. That's genuinely my hope. And I've decided to believe that's what's going to happen and work towards that moonshot because there is no plan B. So we got to do it. Thank you. It's been an amazing time. Thank you for doing this so late, your time too. Apparently we did not need to
actually, it's not my time. It's our time. It's the two of us. We're in the same place.
Being up late because I have to work with America and whatever. And I was I also wanted to know, it's unlikely folks will call me at this time. I can block it out, but
that's cool.
Deeply late for you, so.
No, it's fine. No, well, that's fine. As an entrepreneur, there's no such thing as the right time. Every time is the right time or the wrong time, whichever. It depends.
Exactly. I do wish you all the best, though. I really hope. I wish you every success. Keep in touch. Let me know how I can help with anything.
Well, likewise. And in fact, if people want to find out more about your work and stuff, where can they go?
uvoice.com or .org for different things, but UVOICE.org is citizen journalism from around the world. So a bunch of stories from people sharing their lives and really covering news the way it should have been covered by the people who are living through history, not people flying out to cover someone else's story. And then uvoice.com is pre-launch right now, but will be our social platform, which is going to be social media that rewards impact. It's not influencer media. So there's still a role out there for all the content creator sites there today, but returning to the essence of social media, getting to know real people, working on projects together, changing the world, making activism.
And they're both nonprofit as well.
No. So the uvoice.com is a .com, it's a company, and uvoice.org.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
And uvoice.org is a nonprofit, and we do that so that we can, make it work. However we need to make it work, we're going to make it big. And I think I've said it enough during this call, but I'll definitely reiterate as well. No plans to be a billionaire here. So even when we are incredibly successful, my goal, at least as CEO, is to give back as much as possible.
Amen to that.
Make it happen.
Amen to that. Well, you got my support, that's for sure. So we're gonna have more conversations, so, as always. So yeah, but Isvari, thank you so much.
You're in London, so
no, absolutely, yeah. Well, if you're up in the countryside, hit me up.
I always plan to, and then I never leave London.
Yeah, I know. Now you've got to be brave. You got to be brave to escape London.
All right, take care. Absolute pleasure.
You too. Thank you. Well, my friends, this is it. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, before I go away, if you are on YouTube, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button below. It really makes a massive difference for the growth of our channel. And if you're following us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you need to give us a star review. Apparently, your following means nothing unless you give us a star review. Don't ask me why, but
Give us whatever star review that you think is fair. And if you're not following us, what are you doing? Come on, man. It doesn't cost you anything. It really makes a big difference. I really, really appreciate your support. But also, if you've got cash to spare, consider to become a founding member. We are an independent medium. We're not reliant on any kind of company that gets money from Russian oligarchs or any kind of weird sponsorships or anything like that. All of the companies that work with us are genuine companies that I know and I like. But ultimately, it's the members, you guys, our subscribers, our followers, our founding members, or those of you who actually just donated us like $1 here, a couple of bucks there, $5 there. All of that makes a big difference. This is what makes us truly independent. We're not chasing clickbait because we don't want clickbait. We want facts. We want the truth. We want something that we can all aspire to and something that truly make us at least work harder to make the world a better place. Not just talk about it, but actually make it happen. And of course, it supports all of our campaigns as well. So my friends, thank you so much. Much love. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
You are listening to CERN.